Now is the best time to schedule a free in-home consultation with no obligation. Call 314-569-1050 or see them online and have a banner day.
Wouldn't you like to take a vacation from your bills? Well, you can. With credit card balances at an all-time high and Golden Oak's 5.25% rate, you could be saving thousands of dollars after a simple phone call. Call today and get your cash in as little as 14 days and make no payments for 2 months. Call 314-567-GOLD.
Golden Oak Landing cured my blues.
6.19 APR, FHA, 15-year, 20% equity qualified credit. Additional terms apply. NMLS 114937.
I was having a lot of sinus infections. My sinuses were clogged, pressure, headaches.
Linda suffered for years with chronic sinus infections.
You don't feel like doing anything. When you feel like your head is completely clogged, all you want to do is just lay down and sleep. And the pressure, it's just not fun. Always walking around with a headache.
Now, her issues are gone. How? A minimally invasive procedure done in the office of St. Louis Sinus Centers called balloon sinuplasty.
I really did not know what it was like to feel like you're really breathing and not being so clogged up. I would do it again in a heartbeat, and I would definitely recommend it for someone else.
Do you suffer with chronic sinus infections, facial pain, pressure, congestion? Find out if balloon sinuplasty is the solution for you. Set an appointment today with St. Louis Sinus Centers. Call 314-230-9333. 314-230-9333. That's 314-230-9333.
97.1 FM Talk presents Talk in Action, where we shine a spotlight on local charities making a difference in our community. Join us as we give back and connect neighbors in need. Visit 971talk.com/talkinaction to learn more. This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. The Mark Reardon Show.
There's no big energy coming out of the Democratic Party.
Shock, disgust, happiness, sweat, a little bit of lust, baby.
It's go time. It's go, no go, lock and load, love him and leave him, smoke him if you got him, see him when I see it, because it's time for Mark Reardon time.
This is the Mark Reardon Show.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Just as I sit down here, I got a very encouraging blast from the LA Times that says Children's Hospital LA stops initiating hormonal therapy for transgender patients under 19. That is encouraging. That's called winning. Yeah, that happened here in St. Louis, thanks to Jamie Reed. And along those lines, Sue, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good afternoon to everyone. Fred is here and Ethan as well. We've had our friend Jennifer Say on before, who used to run Levi's, and she has this XXXY Athletics company, and they have a Super Bowl ad that really, we were talking about this yesterday. We weren't sure if it was going to actually air during the Super Bowl. It's not, because it costs like $8 million for 30 seconds, but J.K. Rowling retweeted this yesterday, and she said, this may be the only time I ever, retweet an ad, but she liked it so much.
Riley Gaines and Sia Lee are in hot.
The beginning sounds like
Their transphobic comments, and I just gotta say, who cares if biological males play in women's sports?
So the radio is playing with people kind of downplaying this crisis, and you see Riley Gaines and other athletes
From right-wing bigots.
And you just see this entire narrative unfold about women working as hard as they possibly can to compete against other women. And it's really a visual, more of a visual thing, but I wanted to play, and I played the ad yesterday just to get people a flair. But Jen Say is going to join us a little bit later on, and she really has been one of the champions here with Riley Gaines, and I'd put Billboard Chris in the mix, our friend Chris Elston from Canada, and a bunch of others. Certainly Jamie Reed, how can I forget her? And she was testifying before lawmakers in Kansas last week, and J.K. Rowling at the top of that list because she's been amazing. So I thought I would toss that in just because that cleared just a moment ago with the LA Times. We do have a lot to cover. Apparently, we're about to wipe Iran off the map, right? Is that what's happening? This is catching me off guard. We have some foreign policy news to share this afternoon.
I think there's a big condition that if Iran threatens or makes another attempt on Trump's life, or if they actually kill him.
Okay, so he was like our guy Will Sharf's getting a workout, right? That guy, nobody knows his name except for us, but he's always standing there right next to the president. And then the next thing that you hear, as soon as Will's there, you all of a sudden you hear the marker. You don't really hear Trump, you just hear the marker, where he's signing his signature.
And so what he did, there was an executive order today that President Trump issued. It's really supposed to be tough on Iran. and trying to prevent them from selling oil, trying to prevent them from developing a nuclear weapon. So the president is trying to explain what this act does.
So this is the executive order.
They cannot have a nuclear weapon. With me, it's very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. We don't want to be tough on Iran. We don't want to be tough on anybody, but they just can't have a nuclear weapon.
Mr. President, are you going to engage in conversations with your counterpart in Iran?
I would.
Do you want to block the sale of Iranian oil to other nations?
Well, we have the right to do that, and that's what I did before, and they had no money. They wouldn't have had the money for Hamas or Hezbollah or anybody else. It could have been solved, this thing. It's just, if things went the way they should have, it would have been over long ago, but it's not over.
How close do you think Iran is to developing nuclear weapons?
I think
Peter Doocy.
I think they're close. They're too close. But again, you could go back 4 years. I would have said they would have had it during this intervening period. But they're pretty close, Peter.
Yeah, well, let's not forget, we've been talking about Iran and nuclear weapons for decades now, and no one's ever really clear exactly how close they are. But there's the obliteration thing is what came up here, and that's what's getting a lot of people's attention.
And why say that you're unhappy to sign it if it's Iran and their proxies who have threatened to retaliate against you and your team by killing you guys for taking out Soleimani?
Well, they haven't done that, and that would be a terrible thing for them to do, not because of me. If they did that, they would be obliterated. That would be the end. I've left instructions. If they do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left. And they shouldn't be able to do it. And Biden should have said that, but he never did. I don't know why, lack of intelligence, perhaps. But he never said it. If that happens to a leader, or close to a leader, frankly, if you had other people involved also, you would call for total obliteration of a state that did it. That would include Iran.
So that obviously, when you have the United States president talking about totally obliterating another nation on the other side of the planet, certainly a terrorist nation, but that gets a little attention in the briefing room, and this happens.
President, when you said if they do it, they get obliterated. Just to be clear, you're talking about if Iran made an attempt on your life.
Yeah, that would be called total obliteration. And I can't imagine they do that. It should have been stated by Biden, but he didn't state it because he had no clue, as you know, as everybody knows.
What is your vision, actually, for relationship
Do you have
with
anything
Iran?
else?
No, that's all we have.
My vision for
For a
what?
relationship with Iran, and what do you?
I'd love to have a good relationship with everybody. They can't have a nuclear weapon. That was the only thing that was very important. They can't have a nuclear weapon. Beyond that, it would be very tough if they insist on doing that.
I think it's pretty simple. No nuclear weapon. Don't try to kill me. You're going to be fine. You won't be obliterated. He's kind of laying it out there for everyone. Now, Fred, there's another piece of audio here that I'm not familiar with. What's the deal with Biden and the talent agent? Can you set this one up for me?
Today, the news out of L.A. was that President Biden signed with a talent agency.
Really?
And Peter Doocy asked the president about that.
Okay.
What do you think about Joe Biden signing on with a talent agency?
You got to be kidding. He signed on with a talent agency?
He does. He's got some entertainment agents now.
I think he's got bigger problems than that. I really do. I think he's got much bigger problems than that, but I wish him well. We inherited a mess. This place is a mess, but it's quickly being solved, the problem. We're going to make America great again.
All right, so there he is, the president, once again, giving a lot of time to the media, answering questions.
Yes,
that was just a short time ago. I don't even know. Has he wrapped up, Fred?
He has wrapped it up.
But
but he did a full 30 minutes or so.
Right. So, and he's meeting with Netanyahu, I think, right now.
As soon as he comes out of that meeting,
right.
yeah.
So there may even be more moments with the media this afternoon. We'll certainly keep you on top of all that. Let me kind of lay out the show here because we're going to talk about a lot of things. I have some really good audio that I want to share here this afternoon that I haven't got to. But Brianna Lyman is going to be here with the Federalist to talk about the media and how Trump is treating the media and the left-wing media in particular. Christian Toto will be here. You know what I really haven't touched upon, Sue, and I just want to desperately because I love a good, juicy story full of gossip, but the whole Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni thing. Yeah. And Christian Toto is awesome. He's been a guest for many years. He fills in for Paul Hall when Paul's not here, and he does the Hollywood and Toto podcast. So what's great about Christian is I've always referred to him as one of the few conservative, film critics in the country. and Michael Medved and me and Christian were pretty much the only three for a while. And I think now it's just Medved and Christian. But he has some details. This thing has gotten even weirder this week with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. We'll get to that. We'll talk about the stock market in the next hour. I mentioned Jen Say from XXXY Athletics, and Jeff Rainford will be here. One of the stories, I cannot really remember if I talked about this at all and referred to it yesterday, but let me get this out of the way and promote to what's happening this afternoon. So I was, and this was, I think, shared more yesterday throughout some of the other media, but there was a poll that came out from the Missouri Scout over the weekend, and it's, I think I did allude to this with you, Sue, maybe it was off the air, but it's brutal for Tish. It is just brutal for Tish. So Jeff Rainford is going to join me. Here's the question. Survey conducted January 29th through 30th, so just last week, 507 likely election voters in this survey. What is your opinion of Mike Butler? Favorable, 13%. Unfavorable, 11%. Well, no opinion, 75%, because no one knows the dude, right? What's your opinion of Kara Spencer? Favorable, 50%. Unfavorable, 18%. No opinion, 32%. Kara's a little bit better known, right? Here's the real interesting question. What is your opinion of Tishara Jones? Favorable, 21%. You ready for the unfavorable?
Yes, please.
62%.
Which should be higher to me, but apparently that's a high number.
But here's what Rainford said to me, and he'll reinforce this in a couple hours. And I asked Jane this question. She agreed. He says, I've never seen an unfavorable that high for a politician not under federal investigation or indictment. You have to realize that 53, 54%, that in a poll, that's actually a pretty big number. But 62% unfavorable is really, really high. And I think that what I said to Jeff, and, we'll explore this in a couple hours, I said, that appears to give Kara a legit shot. Tish's negatives off the charts, and his response was she may not get out of the first round. Keep in mind, there's a runoff after the first round. So this Michael Butler guy who really, and I'd like to get to know him. I don't know much about him. We can probably try to have him on the station. I'm not sure if Kara or Michael are going to worry about our audience that much, because I'm not sure we're exploding the numbers in the actual city of St. Louis. But, I think that I'd like to find out a little bit more about what they're all about. But this is bad for Tishara, thankfully, and maybe this is hope for the city of St. Louis.
I'm going to try to not sell, put my house on the market until I can vote against her and then move out.
Well, there you go. Yeah. We haven't gotten into that, but Sue, you are moving, and you've made a little bit of an announcement on that, haven't you?
Slight.
Okay. Well,
we're just not prepared to do that yet.
It's slow go.
It's
right.
a slow go. People.
I didn't want to break any news here this afternoon, but I think that's a good way to handle this. All right. So on the, I have to go back to the DNC from yesterday. I really do, because this is just a gift. It's a gift that keeps on giving. And if you're a Democrat, we'll talk about this on the roundtable. And I think, who do we have this week? Jeff Smith and Jane?
Right.
I'd be very curious to see what Jeff Smith thinks of this, because he would certainly lean much more toward the progressive side of things, even though he might not want to admit that. And we played some of this audio yesterday from the DNC because they're trying to, come up with the right number of representation on the committee and in leadership in particular.
Rules specify that when we have a gender non-binary candidate or officer, the non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female, and the remaining 6 offices must be gender balanced. With the results of the previous 4 elections, our elected officers are currently 2 male and 2 female. In order to be gender balanced, we must
stay with him.
We must elect 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender.
You got that?
So again, this is what we have to do for this vice chair race. We have to elect 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender.
All right, so he was even confused, and that's like the outgoing chair of the DNC. Is that who that is? He didn't even seem to know what he was doing with this math.
The order of balloting is designed to ensure equal access to the ballot, regardless of gender identity. As we must elect a candidate of any gender as well as 1 male and 1 female vice chair, we will first ask members to elect a candidate of any gender on the first ballot. Any candidate, male, female, and non-binary, can be elected on that ballot. Okay. After a candidate is elected on the first ballot, we'll have 1 officer of the 3 So then we will know which position is filled of the one male, one female, and one vice chair of any gender.
I don't think he knows. I don't really think. You know, it's funny if you see the video of this, and I have just a little bit more audio. At the end of it, he looks exasperated and very thrilled that he's through the whole process because I don't think he even understands it.
To ensure our process accounts for male, female, and non-binary candidates, we conferred with our RBC co-chair, our LGBT caucus co-chair, and others to ensure that the process is inclusive and meets the gender balance requirements in our rules.
Hope so.
To do this, our process will be slightly different than the one outlined to you earlier this week.
Oh, my God.
But I hope you will see that in practice, it is simple and transparent.
All right, now you're messing us up and you don't really know what's going on. How do we pick our non-binary candidates?
Our second ballot would also be for a candidate of any gender. Then our third ballot will be the third position that is remaining based on the two results. Either a male candidate if a candidate that is not male has not been elected, or a female candidate if a female has not been elected.
Okay, that's exhausting. Did you keep all that straight?
I wonder if anyone's qualified.
That is a Saturday Night Live bit.
Yeah,
that is an SNL bit.
It is.
It's the goofiest thing. I would have to say, if I were to be a Democrat, I would be ashamed and embarrassed. And I hope that some of our Midwest Democrats are. But that's what they had to do. And by the way, you want to hear something even worse than that? They elected two white dudes. They elected, Ken Martin is the new chair of the DNC, and he, I guess, led the Democrat Party of Minnesota. And then this David Hogg guy who was there at Parkland, he's just kind of a rabble-rouser who pops off on social media about guns. That's pretty much all he does and all he's qualified for, but they elected him as vice chair. But that's really good, isn't it? I mean, you can't even make that up. It's customized ads for the Republicans, and we're not really on the cusp of anything right now, but I would save that. I'd kind of make that handy.
It's kind of like Who's on First comedy routine.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's unreal that is somehow actually something that took place over the weekend. It really, and the other thing about it is let's face it, and we know this. How many people are airing that? You think CNN ran that clip to get reaction from the panel? Maybe they did. I mean, maybe when Jennings was on, but Fox has certainly run it, but I haven't seen any coverage of that like in the New York Times or the LA Times or the Washington Post. No one's writing about. They've written about what happened there, but they don't get into the non-binary math and all that other nonsense that is thoroughly embarrassing for the Democrats. But we had to highlight that just because, I mean, when you put that together, and, I had to mention this to Ethan, Sue, because we're collecting some audio for new opens. We have a new era here.
Ooh.
Biden is gone. You might hear some different sound bites that are in the open of the show. I mean, this is first and foremost one we captured.
I can't wait until American women can't get blueberries for their smoothies.
And then this one.
Our rules specify that when we have a gender non-binary candidate or officer, the non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female, and the remaining 6 offices must be gender balanced.
Right,
at this point are currently 2 male and 2 female. In order to be gender balanced, we must add 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender.
All right. So we got that straight. Congratulations, Democrats, for thoroughly humiliating yourselves even more before the American people. So we're off and running here. We've obliterated Iran. We figured out some of the gender stuff. We got Brianna Lyman with the Federalist coming up here. Christian Toto is going to weigh in on the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni feud, which is fascinating. We got Sue's News in the next hour. A lot to get to. Jen Say at 5:07.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
We've got a stall reported westbound 44 just before 7th Boulevard, and it's blocking the right lanes. But the worst of it tonight is it's Illinois already. First of all, that westbound 44 jam goes back through the depressed section in front of the Arch grounds. But here's the deal. We've got road work eastbound 5570 between 64 and 203, and they've got the 2 left lanes down. They will have them down through tomorrow. They say they will have them reopened by 3 p.m. tomorrow. But for today, we've got a parking lot jam that goes back across the Poplar Street Bridge. And if it's like yesterday, it will just continue to grow. Hopefully not. But we've got a jam on Route 3 in both directions, drivers using that as an alternate. And if you are westbound on 64, we're seeing just the beginnings of some volume at Hampton. Southbound 270, a little bit slow, headed down toward Ladue Road. This report brought to you by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Furnace funky?
Then make one call.
And Jerry Kelly will be there the very next day.
Call anytime, 8 to 8, 8 days a week.
And Jerry Kelly will fix your furnace or install a new one the very next day.
JerryKelly.com. All right, we're coming off a month where if you didn't take advantage of a great deal from my friends at Zero Res, you have another swing of the bat into February. We always have great deals month to month, sometimes a little better on the carpet side, sometimes just a little better on the air duct side. So let's check out the February Month for Love special. Of course, Valentine's Day coming up very, very quickly. So let's love our home and love our carpet. 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at $119. Plus, here's where you get the bonus for February, a 4th room cleaned free when you mention my name or you mention 97.1 FM Talk when you book the appointment. You can take $75 off the air duct cleaning package as well. Smart thing to do both of those. If you see a lot of dust and dander in the air, especially this time of year when outside of yesterday, you probably can't have the windows open, so you got indoor air issues as well. The stuff that's getting spat out of the ductwork is going into your carpets, so let's get them all cleaned with a great deal right now, professionally cleaned from Zero Res. $75 off the air duct package, 3 rooms starting at $119, plus that 4th room free when you mention my name or 97.1 FM Talk. You can book right now at ZeroResSTL.com or call 314-474-2020. You spell it backward or forward, it spells the same. Zero Res.
Local news can come at you fast. Want the latest on what's happening in your backyard? Download the free Odyssey app. Follow your local news station, and you'll get alerts on the top stories making headlines in your city. You can stay in the know, no matter what you're up to, and be among the first to find out when news breaks. Plus, keep tabs on weather and traffic, so you're never caught off guard. To get started, download the Odyssey app. That's AUDACY, and follow your local news station.
In Missouri, farming isn't just a profession, it's a purpose. You can feel it in our 27 million acres of farmland. You can see it in the nearly 41,000 Missourians who work in agriculture. You can hear it at our farmers markets. You can count it in the $93.7 billion it brings our state. And you can taste it at your family's dinner table. A lot of farmers in our state rely on Bayer's tools and inventions because Bayer has a purpose too. To help farmers thrive. Learn more at go.bayer.com/purpose. Paid for by Bayer.
Could you make $500,000 in retirement savings? Maybe $1 million? Maybe $2 million? Well, you could. The key is having a comprehensive financial plan for taxes, Social Security, inflation, healthcare, income, and more. Discover how you could make money go a lot further in retirement in a 3-hour adult education class, Retirement Planning 101. Guys, it's Dave Glover from KMOX. This one-night class is taught by a fiduciary advisor from Financial and Tax Architects with decades of financial planning experience. They're held at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis. There's no cost. Just bring 3 canned goods for the St. Louis Crisis Nursery. If you've saved $300,000 or more for retirement, register by calling 314-350-8110. 314-350-8110. If, like me, you haven't quite had the pedal to the metal the way you should, or if you've had the pedal to the metal the entire time, either way, give us a call. We can help you out. We'll take you wherever you are. 314-350-8110. 314-350-8110 for Financial and Tax Architects. Hey guys, Glover here for my friends Mark and Neil Gelman from the Gelman team of eXp Realty. If you want immediate cash for your home or to see what your home is actually worth in today's market, find out for free from the local experts. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
328, this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Their parent gave everything for our nation, but when support fades, who stands with them? Join the precious legacy at Rhythm and Brews Fest on March 8th in St. Charles. Learn more at 971talk.com/talk in action.
You know what I hate is when I see something come in, like I feel like I just got a text from someone, and I think I did, and now I can't find it because Well, here's the topic of it, and I have to see who might have. I'm going through a bunch of different text messages, but the NFL has apparently, this is another one of those things right now where there's a lot of winning going on. They've apparently decided to pull the whole, the end racism thing that they wear on the back of their helmets and they have it in the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they're getting rid of that, which is somewhat interesting.
That's
so
nice.
I'll see if I can locate that, and we'll share more details with you in a moment. So last week, of course, we talked about Face the Nation and Margaret Brennan, who embarrasses herself on a regular basis. J.D. Vance just handed it to her. And then this Sunday, you had Congressman Brian Mast. This is really, I think, maybe even better than the J.D. Vance moment, because Margaret thinks that she's got this guy on the topic of the USAID and DOGE and, not spending as much money as we are and wasting money on all these projects that people have no idea what goes on. And she tries to, I think it's maybe a gotcha moment.
If you want to take a look at the State Department, where DEI has been a priority over, let's say, diplomacy in many accounts, I could give you hundreds of examples of where they were authorizing. What proof do you have of that? Sure. Let's list them off. $500,000 to expand atheism in Nepal, $50,000 to do, a transgender opera in Colombia, $47,000 to do an LGBTQ trans comic book in Peru.
All right, so these are all things that he's ticking off. I don't know if she expected that, but the best that she can do, listen to her kind of under her breath here.
$20,000 a pop to do drag shows in Ecuador. Shall I continue with more examples of where DEI was the priority?
It certainly seems like there could be a review of things. Foreign aid, as you know, is less than 1% of the entire federal budget. So we're talking small amounts of money by comparison.
We're still talking about tens and tens of billions of dollars.
Yeah, so the talking point part of that is it all went out to the Democrats and the legacy media. It's only 1% of the federal budget. I've tried to tell you, and this is the truth, the only real way to get to the spending nightmare in Washington is to attack the entitlement programs. Now, that's not going to happen right now, and we just kind of have to accept that, and maybe in the end, we're going to have some Social Security reform and Medicare reform. But in the meantime, let's not waste money everywhere else just because it's 1%. I don't care if it's 0.5%. It's billions and billions of dollars. And I'm pretty sure that a couple of people in a room, you don't even have to be that smart, can figure out where to put some more of that money that would help the American people. So let's talk about the media just a little bit here. Brianna Lyman is with us from The Federalist, wrote about Margaret Brennan and J.D. Vance and some of these other things that are happening with the legacy media. Brianna, how are you? Welcome to 97.1 FM Talk.
Thanks so much for having me.
How about that Margaret Brennan moment? 2 weeks in a row. She's got to go for the trifecta this weekend, doesn't she?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if I was her, I would probably take this week and shift off and try to recalibrate so I don't look like a fool for a third time.
It is interesting, though, and what you wrote about is the approach with this administration and the media. And just for a little background here, Brianna, because I'll just make this quick. The audience has been bored by my little mantra in the past, but I was, in theory, trained as a journalist. I guess I'm a little embarrassed to say that. I went to journalism school at the University of Missouri here in our great state in Columbia, Missouri, down the road. I was a news director. I was a news anchor. I was a news reporter. I did this on mainly on radio. I didn't do television except for when I was in school. But I say all that because if you go back 8 years or so, and President Trump says something like the media is the enemy of the people, I kind of get back on my heels and said that's not fair because the media plays a very important role. Well, then I witnessed Brett Kavanaugh and Covington Catholic, and the list goes on and on and on. And I firmly believe now that the legacy media is the enemy of the people. I can't even believe I'm saying that. And now there's a way to kind of fight back against the enemy of the people in a different way, isn't there?
Absolutely. And I do think it's fair to say they are the enemy of the people in the sense that when people go out and vote, they vote based on what they know. And it's sometimes and oftentimes what they think they know. And that all comes down to where do they get their news from. You know, when you go to places like CNN and MSNBC and NBC, you're getting either, fake news, you're getting a twist, you're getting, a bunch of smear allegations or character assassinations against Republicans. It's not really news. That's left-wing. I'm not even going to call it analysis because it's not analysis, but that distorts someone's perception. And unfortunately, though, they go out and they vote based on that perception. So definitely a threat. But what we're seeing this go around, particularly with the Trump administration, I think Republicans across the board, is they are finally treating these so-called journalists for what they are, and that is propagandists. They understand that people like Margaret Brennan, her sole job is to create fodder for Democrats and to run a Democratic operation for them to try and make them look good, to drag a candidate across the finish line. And by viewing them as that, they're treating them as such in their responses. They're not feeling like they have to shoulder the burden to explain basic concepts or to explain, why Americans don't want to fund a, transgender opera in Colombia.
We've had a couple of incidents here in St. Louis, and let me just say, put it this way first. I think that I have friends that, certainly don't listen to this show because they're not conservatives. They maybe watch, PBS or NPR or maybe CNN or wherever. But I firmly believe that, and I'll just speak of some of my friends, and this would probably be a lot of the American people, they don't understand the depth of the deception that goes on here with the legacy media. And Brianna, I have a couple examples here from St. Louis because we had 60 Minutes come into town and another reporter from CBS, Jeff Pegues, sort of on the same story. We had a prosecutor here named Kim Gardner who was just awful. She wasn't doing her job. In fact, more details have come out in the last 6 weeks about her not doing her job with, audit that happened from our state auditor. But Bill Whitaker from 60 Minutes came in here and tried to paint the city as racist because people were complaining against this circuit attorney. Nothing could have been further from the truth. I offered to 60 Minutes and to Jeff Pegues, hey, if you want to sit down with Democrats in my city, they don't have to be on my side of the political equation, but they can explain to you why this is an issue and it's not related to race. They didn't want to hear any of that, and they go on with their stories, and they did 2 big national stories. I mean, 60 Minutes, it's that's important in theory. And they never go back and correct things. Kim Gardner got shuffled out of office. She almost had her law license taken away. An audit came out to reveal that she was, going to nursing school half the time when she was supposed to be doing her job here. We had 6,000 cases that didn't get addressed in St. Louis, but no effort on the part of the legacy media to come back and correct the narrative on the story. So that's why when I say the depth of the deception, it goes a lot further than I think even people think.
Absolutely. I mean, yours is obviously a more local scenario. So, people will say, oh, well, it's not a big deal. Well, then I urge them to just remember, what was that, September? Was that the CBS News interview with Kamala Harris in which on a Sunday we got one answer and 24 hours later we got an entirely different answer? The purpose of them editing the interview the way they did is they wanted to deceive voters into thinking that Kamala Harris was, somehow qualified to be president and that she had, respectable answers to serious questions. When the fact remained, she faltered. When they asked her an easy question, she couldn't get a single answer out. But this is, again, why it's important to view these so-called journalists as propagandists. They are shills for the Democratic Party. They are trying to push an agenda. So in your case, in almost really every other reporting we've seen, they have ignored facts. They've omitted facts, which is, just as bad. And they've also created their own types of narratives. I remember when the election was happening, we were talking about the SAVE Act, which is that you have to show documentary proof of citizenship to register to vote. Every single outlet from the left was, it is really rare for illegal immigrants to vote. And then 10 paragraphs down, they'd be like, but here's a bunch of examples of it happening. So it's always deceptive coverage.
I think that the area, and I have Jennifer Say on from XXXY Athletics, who's been really one of the leaders on this, gender nonsense and men playing in women's sports with Riley Gaines and some of the others. And they put out this ad yesterday that went viral, and we're going to talk to her about that. But when I think about that issue in particular, the so-called gender-affirming care, the issue of biological men playing against women, much of the legacy media, and by the way, including the sports media like ESPN, they act like these things are not even happening. They don't even cover it.
Of course not, because that is cowardice, right? Because if you are someone with common sense, you believe in actual science, you would have no problem not only standing up for science, but standing up for women like myself who are constantly being told by men cosplaying as women that they know what it's like to be a woman. It's very insulting. And any organization or outlet that doesn't cover that topic is likely to be assumed that they probably feel the same way you and I feel, but they're too scared. They're cowards. They don't want to stand up for truth in the face of adversity. And that's a real shame.
It really is, and I'm appreciative of you and others kind of speaking up about this. And one thing we didn't mention here with all the media coverage, how about Carolyn Levitt? How impressive is she right now for someone as young as she is in particular?
Absolutely. And I think the media is approaching her. They're hoping to have a gotcha moment because she is young and she's done nothing but hold her own. She punches, 10 times above her weight and she makes them look like fools. And she comes out with facts, is very reminiscent of Kayleigh McEnany. She has actual tangible facts on hand and not just, platitudes like Karine Jean-Pierre always had.
Well, thanks, Brianna. Stay on them. I appreciate coming on here this afternoon. All right.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, take care. I wanted to mention one more thing here. Let me pull this up because Abigail Schreier wrote on the Free Press about some of this gender stuff last week. And really, the headline was, Abigail Schreier, How the Gender Fever Finally Broke. And I shared this with a couple of people, certainly people that are not on my side of politics. And I wanted to share this with one person from the Post-Dispatch in particular, because he's a trans sympathizer and has no issue with men with penises playing against women. That's Nate Hochman. I'm Ben Hochman. Sorry, Nate Hochman's a different dude. Ben Hochman at the Post-Dispatch. You know what I found out? I was going to share this on Twitter with Ben Hochman, who I've gone back and forth with on the X, formerly Twitter, on this particular issue. He blocked me. He blocked me on Twitter.
Wow.
Ben did. So I was going to look up his email address and share that piece from Abigail because I think he might learn something. And the gang at the Post-Dispatch. You'd never know it based on the way they cover stories, though.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
On the roads this afternoon, we've got more problems on the Illinois side. If you are headed into Illinois, the problem on the Poplar Street Bridge, which, by the way, is a parking lot, is that we've got road work eastbound 5570. They're doing bridge work between 64 and 203, and they've got the two left lanes down. And these lanes are going to be closed through tomorrow. They say they will have them picked up by 3 p.m. Traffic, though, is just a parking lot in the meantime. Now, we had an earlier stall. By the way, the other bridges downtown look okay. We had an earlier stall westbound 44 approaching 7th Boulevard, and still some slow-moving traffic behind that. Southbound 55, slow pocket south of Arsenal down through Rivas Barracks. Southbound 270, moderate volume, and that stretches from Page down through 64. Out west, 70 is fine. It does have a little volume at K, but it's really not that bad. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Eggland's Best, the only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, organic, free-range, and pasture-raised. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Hey, Missouri sports fans. I am one of them. I've got good news. Underdog Fantasy is available to play in our state now. The best app for your big game party is actually on your phone. It's called Underdog. I want you to download that. Underdog, the best place to cash in on all your takes during the big game, which players are going to be hot, which ones might not be, a little ice cold. So they have a champions game. It's very simple. You can win up to 1,000 times your money. All you have to do, and you can do this only on the game this weekend, higher or lower on the stats, yards, touchdowns, interceptions. You can create entries with all football selections. I tend to favor that. Or you can mix and match with the NHL, the NBA, and other sports. You can really win big cash here, and you can guarantee, I can tell you that Underdog is the only champions platform that really puts the power to cash out in your hands. So you can ride with your entry or tap the Win Now button. You can cash out whenever you want. It all starts with downloading the app, Underdog Fantasy. Use the promo code MARKR, and you're going to be set right now. Sign up, deposit now with that code MARKR to get $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. If you're here in Missouri, you're automatically going to get additional $50 in bonus cash when you play your first $5 entry. The promo code MARKR, MARKR, must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. $10 deposit minimum. See UnderdogFantasy.com for terms and conditions. Concerned with your play, call 800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Hi, my name is Christina Straight, the owner of Straight Realty, and I'm asking you, what do you want in a realtor? Do you want experience? I've been a broker for over 21 years. Do you want to know how much I've sold? I've sold over $500 million, yes, $1 billion with a B, in sales. Do you want value? I now list properties for only 2%. So, if you're looking for all these things and want the best, then call me, 314-441-4444. Why pay more than 2? You can also listen to my podcast on my website, straightrealty.com.
Commissions are not regulated and are negotiable. Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
When you've been hurt in an accident, you need a law firm that wins. Onder wins. For over 100 years, Onder Law has been winning for St. Louis. With over $5 billion in negotiated settlements and over $300 million in verdicts, Onder wins. Voted best law firm by STL Today 2 years in a row, Onder wins. Whether it's settlements, verdicts, or awards, Onder wins. If you've been hurt in a car accident, trucking accident, or hurt on the job, Onder Law will get you the money you deserve. At Onder Law, winning is what we do. So when the stakes are high, Onder wins. Call us today for a free consultation. We don't get paid unless we win for you. Dial 314 or 6189-MILLION. That's 314 or 6189, then all zeros. Or visit us online at onderwins.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture.
Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guaranteed details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Wednesday, how will the Chinese tariffs affect you? We'll talk to Taylor Riggs from Fox Business at 8:35.
The Mark Cox Morning Show. Weekdays from 5 to 9. Right here on 97.1 FM Talk. A little controversy for your afternoon. The Mark Reardon Show.
You know, Sue, when I left last night, I just got to Lafayette, and I could see the backup on 44 and where 55 merges.
Brutal.
And they were not moving at all. Are you saying that's happening again this afternoon, too?
It's not quite as bad because they knew it was coming.
Okay.
So it's just across the Poplar, but it's still bad. It's just not back to Vanderbilt.
All right, well, we'll keep you posted on that throughout the afternoon. Sue will have a Tuesday edition of Sue's News coming up here after the top of the hour. Dave Simons will kind of weigh in on some of the tariff issues and what's going on the market. I mentioned Jen Say, the founder of XXXY Athletics, who was a U.S. champion gymnast. You know, her documentary, Athlete A, on the Larry Nassar thing is up on Netflix right now. But she's got a new ad that is a viral ad. It's not going to air during the Super Bowl. But have you ever been on her site?
I don't think so.
Man, I ordered some shirts today from Jen in the site. You're going to like that. It's either like athletic wear or you can buy the shirts that are really associated with the movement, if you will.
What is it again?
XXXY Athletics. You're going to find it. Hey, Sue, you're going to like this conversation, though, too, because we've alluded to the whole Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively dust-up. That's kind of fascinating. That's been unfolding in Hollywood. I love a good gossip story, if you will, but this has gotten real serious with both sides, I think, using all of the forces of anything in Hollywood related to public relations firms at their behest. And Christian Toto is one of the few conservative film critics in the entire country. I used to be one with him until I kind of retired from that aspect of my career. But he also hosts the Hollywood and Toto podcast. Christian, welcome back. How are you this afternoon?
I'm great. I'm a little fearful of this conversation. I could get drawn into the lawsuit, but we will march forward.
Well, here's a question to get this started. Like, I never saw the damn movie. Did you like the movie?
You know, I never saw it. I somehow missed it over the summer. But, you know, the irony of all this is that last year there were so many sequels and prequels and reboots. We're getting more of the same this year. This was one of the rare films that was an adult-minded drama. It dealt with a serious issue, and it made a lot of money. And that should have been a Hollywood success story. But then this broke out, and all of a sudden this movie became an albatross on the key players, and it's just spiraling out of control.
Yeah, the movie's called It Ends With Us, and that was the one thing. I never saw it either, but when I was reading about this, and I think this story goes back a couple months now, several months, certainly goes back to when the film was released, I saw the box office. I mean, we're talking $300 plus million. So that sort of caught me off guard. It was one of the bigger films of the summer. So what happened here? Is there a way to kind of cull this down? Because this is a big he said, she said. Blake Lively's married to Ryan Reynolds. He seemingly is using his power to get involved here. I honestly don't know who to believe. I think both sides kind of look bad at certain points in this story. I don't know what to think, though. What's your take?
Yeah, it feels like every new day there's a revelation that maybe changes the way you think of the whole case. I mean, at the surface level, it is an actress saying that someone treated her very poorly on the set. Now, the actress in question is very famous. She's married to a person who's even more famous. So she would seem an unlikely recipient of that kind of abuse. But, you know, these things happen. Very famous actresses have been, you know, treated very badly. Just look at the Harvey Weinstein case. But then some of the allegations made by Blake Lively about the mistreatment, it's when we found out more details about them when Justin Baldoni fought back in the public arena, it didn't seem that outrageous or that terrible or that even anything really that was objectionable. So it's been a very odd case. It is playing out aggressively in the public arena to the point where I believe that the New York Times is also involved legally now. I think Baldoni's team is attacking them with a legal suit. And, you know, there was just recently there was the judge in the case said, hey, you've got to stop leaking. You got to stop fighting this in the public arena because you're tainting the jury pool. I can't get the job done here. So it is amazing. I think at the end of the day, it will make a pretty darn good miniseries or a docuseries or maybe even a movie.
It really will. Because
if only
so
most
juicy.
Hollywood movies had this.
Hey, Christian, it's Sue. I've got a question. It seemed to me like at the beginning of this, it was all anti-Blake, right? She was horrible to work with. It's almost as though she complained and then they just tried to overwhelm her, though, with, you were terrible. So I don't know. I don't know how you're supposed to sort through it. You know?
Yeah, because some of it starts with an allegation that things were uncomfortable on the set when there were sex scenes, etc. And then it seems to kind of cascade toward the film's release into very
negative her.
feelings. You know, I think both sides had a lot of tension. And then that's where things kind of get tricky because you got text messages that are exchanged back and forth from, you know, certainly Baldoni and the PR folks that don't make Blake Lively look very good. Lively and her team comes back and says, look, this is what happened. So again, it kind of gets difficult to really cull down what really happened. I guess that's what the court's going to try to do.
Absolutely. But I think one of the key things that we're learning here, or maybe being more aware of, is just how these battles can play out, how publicists can leak certain bits of information, and then the press and how they respond. I mean, was the New York Times irresponsible in its coverage? Did they take a whole bunch of information and shape it in a way that was negative toward Baldoni? I mean, is that what's going on? Again, we don't know for sure, but you know, all these parties have to be more mature, more responsible. And you know, sometimes this could just be a gossip story that goes awry, and there's no lawsuits and there's no accusations of a serious nature like we're seeing here. So this is just, you know, reputations being besmirched. I mean, that's possible as well. So I mean, I think it's in a way an educational experience for everyone to say, hey, be careful what media outlets you trust. Be careful what the spin is. There's got to be a reason why this information is being leaked and that information is not being leaked. I mean, I just think there's something instructional about it besides all the tawdry nature of it.
So just to cull some of this down, Lively says that Justin Baldoni, you know, and maybe his team are guilty of sexual harassment and a smear campaign. So then he retorts by filing his own $400 million lawsuit against Lively and Reynolds, alleging extortion and defamation. One of the things that does make this very interesting is the text messages that got out. And, you know, those were not leaked because of any kind of discovery in court. I'm sure that they're going to do that as well. But it became very clear that someone with one of these PR agencies leaked those text messages, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I think, one of the allegations against the New York Times is that they took, you know, selectively edited texts and used that to frame the story. You know, my vague memory of this whole situation when the movie came out was that there were negative headlines around Blake Lively and how she conducted herself on the press tour, and then even how maybe she was too glib, because the subject matter of the movie is about domestic abuse, and maybe she didn't treat it with the reverence it deserved. And it seemed like an odd way to frame that part of the conversation. I mean, you know, if you're on a press tour, you don't have to be dour and you know, looking at the subject matter in a very negative light. I mean, you can laugh about it. You can have a conversation with a journalist. You don't have to be doom and gloom the whole time. So it struck me as a little bit odd. And then it just took off from there.
And I don't think it's even close to coming to an end when it comes to the explosive nature of this, because it seems to me that once this thing gets to court, unless there's some sort of crazy settlement, which I don't expect to happen, that more of this is going to be exposed.
It reminds me a little bit of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation,
exactly.
where we were told certain things, we expected certain things, we figured certain narratives were falling into place, and then you got more information. And wait a minute, maybe Depp isn't the monster we think he is. Maybe it's more complicated. Maybe they're both behaving badly. If I were a gambling person, I'd say I think they both behave badly in certain ways, but even that I don't know. And you know, again, there are lives at stake, there are reputations. You have one, you know, Baldoni is someone whose career is just beginning. Lively's been a star for a while now, not a superstar, but certainly a respected actress. She's a good actress. I mean, she can acquit herself quite well on screen. So what happens with their next projects? I mean,
well, that's a great question. And apparently, they're rolling out some media for this A Simple Favor sequel with Anna Kendrick. So that's going to get released in a few months. It'll be very curious to see how all this is managed around this lawsuit.
Imagine that publicity tour. You know that her publicists are going to say, "Listen, if you want to talk to Miss Lively, you can't touch this subject." I mean, I can imagine.
Yeah, the junket will be extremely well protected there with the PR teams on top of this. Hey, before I let you go, I think the Critics' Choice this weekend because it was delayed. Is it coming up this weekend?
I believe so. I know it was delayed. Chelsea Handler will be calling the shots. And yeah, again, I feel like it's gotten a little bit lost in the shuffle with all the fires and the delays and the Oscars. And of course, Amelia Perez is just sucking up all the oxygen. It just,
well, that's another story that we can't even get into. And I addressed that last week with that. You got a trans actress that is being canceled because of some of her tweets that kind of got into the political realm. What was your film of the year? What was your favorite, maybe even for the Oscar or the Critics' Choice? Did you have one that jumped out?
It's starting to become a favorite only because it's a safe choice, but I think it's a very good choice. The Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan biopic, I thought was terrific. And not only was it great acting and it was really well crafted, but it was just refreshing to see an artist who just followed his own muse, who didn't care about what they said about him. He just had talent, and he had songs he wanted to sing and messages he wanted to get out there, and he didn't give a darn. And just as someone watching the culture today, it felt very refreshing. But listen, Timothée Chalamet is great in it.
Oh, I like that movie a lot, and I kind of went in a little suspicious, so I wasn't sure. So that was one of my favorites of the year as well. Christian Toto, HollywoodandToto.com. You can check out the podcast as well. Always great to have you on. Thank you. Hope all is well.
Oh, yes, it is. Thank you.
All right, take care. We got Sue's News coming up after Fox News.
If you missed anything, podcast The Mark Reardon Show at 971talk.com. Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
We've got a jam for Illinois drivers again on the Poplar Street Bridge. Of course, this is all due to road work. Eastbound 5570 between 64 and 203. They've got the two left lanes blocked for road work and will through tomorrow. So traffic, a parking lot back for the length of the bridge. 44 westbound is slow in front of the arch. We've got southbound 55, slow pocket south of Arsenal through Rebus Barracks. Oh, also on the Illinois side, day 2 of the closure of 255 between Route 15 and 157, and a lot of extra volume on 157 as drivers use that as an alternate. Westbound 44 out of downtown, we've got an accident just past Berry Road, and that's causing a delay. 6440 lines up at Hampton and slowing again right at Ballas and at 364. 70 is not that bad. In fact, that's the place to be. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, if you're looking at doing something really special for your home, I'll tell you where it's the place to be. That's Banner Construction. Bill Kaufman, Sam P., their company has been extremely successful here in St. Louis, and they'd love to help you with a project involving Pella windows or maybe James Hardy fiber cement siding. Now, these are big projects. We always mention that, and Banner has got you covered because they have a great design team. They'd love to sit down with you. It's a free design consultation. You always do me a huge favor if you tell me you heard about it here on 97.1 FM Talk. What is the James Hardy product all about? Maybe the best way I can guide you into that is the website. There's a downloadable guide. You can see an image gallery of homes that have been transformed. The colors are amazing, all kinds of styles and assortments. Same thing with the Pella windows. You have different options, different choices. They look great from the inside and out and really can make a big difference on your home when it comes to maintenance and the value as well. So check out Banner Construction today. Do me a huge favor. Tell them that I sent you over. 314-569-1050 or online, bannerconstruction.com.
Wouldn't you like to take a vacation from your bills? Well, you can. The new year is here. Home values are up, and you have more home equity than ever. Now is the time to put that home equity to work for you. This is James Hawkins, president of Golden Oak Lending. Credit card balances are at an all-time high. Why pay 25 to 30% interest to them when you could be saving thousands of dollars after a simple phone call? Golden Oak's mortgage rate is 5.25%. We have no fee to apply and no out-of-pocket costs. And if you call today, you could make no payments for 2 months. But don't wait. This rate won't last forever. Imagine how good it will feel to have those bills paid off. At Golden Oak Lending, we can make that happen in as little as 14 days. And if for any reason your loan doesn't close, we will pay for your appraisal. Call today and take advantage of our 5.25 fixed rate. Call 314-567-GOLD.
Golden Oak Lending cured my blues.
6.19 APR, FHA, 15-year, 20% equity qualified credit. Additional terms apply. NMLS 114937.
Attention St. Louis Medicaid members. If you need assistance with daily living, you can receive a free service from Freedom Care in your own home from a loved one who lives with you. With Freedom Care, you decide who provides your daily care, helping you with preparing meals, bathing, laundry, transportation, and more. A family member or friend that gets paid instantly. It's all through Medicaid, and as a St. Louis resident, it's 100% free to you. New to Medicaid, the Freedom Care family will guide you through enrollment, making it stress-free for patients and caregivers. With over 7,000 five-star Google reviews, we've perfected at-home care for Medicaid members and caregivers. If you live in the St. Louis area, this service is free to you through Medicaid, and with our InstaPay app, caregivers can choose to get paid instantly. So go to freedomcare.com or call 314-697-4912. 314-697-4912. That's 314-697-4912.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com or call us toll-free at 888-367-6512.
Tuesday afternoon edition of Sue's News is on deck after Fox News.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
He wants peace in the Middle East. Lisa Brady, Fox News. That's what President Trump told reporters just before a meeting now underway with Israel's prime minister, the first foreign visitor to the White House of his second term. A visit that comes with the second phase of talks set to begin in the ceasefire and hostage deal between Israel and Hamas. President Trump says Gaza is uninhabitable.
The whole place is demolished. It's unsafe. It's unsanitary. It's not a place where people want to live.
He says he'd like to see Jordan and Egypt accept displaced Palestinians from Gaza, something both countries have rejected. The president telling advisors to obliterate Iran if that country kills him.
President Trump says he's left instructions in the event Iran carries out an assassination on him.
If they do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left.
The Justice Department announced last year an Iranian plot intended to kill President Trump was thwarted. Iran has vowed revenge for the killing of a commander in a drone strike ordered by President Trump during his first term.
Fox's Jared Halper, and this as the president signed an executive order aimed at restoring a maximum pressure campaign to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. Tomorrow, he's expected to sign an order that would effectively ban transgender girls and women from female sports in schools and colleges. Today, doctors and families went to court trying to block a Trump order ending federal funding of gender-affirming care for those under age 19. Two controversial nominees head for Senate votes, including Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence. Indiana Republican Senator Todd Young reassured enough to support her.
He also believes that members of the intelligence community will be okay with Tulsi Gabbard. He says, quote, "I've done my work. I've done my vetting. I've done what I think as a former Marine Corps intelligence officer is consistent with national security."
Fox's Chad Pergram, Robert F. Kennedy's nomination to lead Health and Human Services, also advancing along party lines. America is listening to Fox News.
I've just been feeling so sluggish lately. You should try the Metamucil 2-Week Challenge. The Metamucil 2-Week Challenge? Yeah, Metamucil 4-in-1 Fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Start your daily routine now, and in 2 weeks, you could be feeling great. Well, it's been 2 weeks. How you feeling? Lighter and feeling great.
If you want to feel lighter by promoting digestive health, sign up to take the 2-week challenge at Metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Ever have one of those days where your gut just feels blah?
Ugh, yes.
Occasional bloating or gas could be signs that your gut is out of balance, but Align Probiotic can help. Align 24/7 Digestive Support is a daily use probiotic with a unique strain to help relieve occasional digestive issues. It's the #1 doctor-recommended brand. So when you feel the signs, it's time to try Align. Align Probiotic. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Quiet and cooler times across St. Louis on this Tuesday. Partly sunny skies, 48 for the high. That's a big change from yesterday. Tonight, cloudy skies, some rain moving in well after midnight, 35. Wednesday, clouds with periods of chilly rain. It's all rain, 49 degrees, rain, and a couple of spot thunderstorms Wednesday night. Thursday, partly sunny, 54. We've got more rain Friday and Saturday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
I'm Chad Robison with Your Money Now. State Farm General, California's largest insurance provider, is requesting an emergency interim rate hike, averaging out 22% for homeowners. The provider is pointing to a dire financial situation after the destruction caused by the LA wildfires last month. State Farm says they've received nearly 9,000 claims and paid out over $1 billion to policyholders. On Wall Street, federal jobs data and tariffs from China pushed the markets higher today, with the Dow gaining 134, the S&P 500 gained 43, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq was up 262. The cheapest ticket for Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans this Sunday has fallen below $4,000 on the secondary market, according to reseller TickPick. That level marks a 30% week-over-week drop and a more than 50% discount from record-breaking Super Bowl 58 held in Las Vegas last year. That's Your Money Now.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's I-Z-E-R.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts.
Well, bit of a recovery on Wall Street today after all the tariff stuff yesterday, but it gets confusing, and you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And if you have a retirement account and you're concerned about making enough money last through retirement, especially with inflation, that's when you turn to Thomas Helbig and the team at the Retirement Advisory Group. They're the official financial planners of this show. They are the leading authority here in St. Louis for protecting your retirement. And they have a different philosophy than a lot of the other, brokerage firms, et cetera, out there. Mark Cox is really good about talking about this because he used to work in that particular area professionally before he got back into to media on the radio. He had worked in television for a long time. When we do these seminars with Thomas, we do 5 a year. We just knocked one down here last week. Mark tends to explain a lot of that, and it's an easy way to really understand the differences and why clients of Thomas's have never lost a penny of their money. How does that happen? Well, the key is, and the strategy is safely linking to the market, and they can teach you all that. So we don't have another seminar that's set right now. That means you can go one-on-one into the office by calling 314-993-9494 online at retirementkey.com. Check out the Retirement Advisory Group today.
Step outside and fall in love with your backyard again. From inviting porch overhangs to durable composite decks and cozy screen rooms, Lakeside Renovation and Design creates stunning outdoor living spaces designed for relaxation, entertaining, and making memories. With expert craftsmanship and top-quality materials, your new outdoor oasis will be perfect for every season. Call Lakeside Renovation and Design today or visit lakesiderd.com to get started. Let's turn your backyard into the retreat you've always dreamed of.
Thinking of buying a new home? Think TR Hughes. TR Hughes Homes has great prices on beautiful new homes at 4 desirable locations. Charlestown Landing in North St. Charles, convenient to Highway 370. The Grove at Riverdale and St. Paul with standard 4-car garages, just 10 minutes from the St. Peter's Dearborns. Arbor Valley and Wentzville on Highway N with minimum half-acre wooded lots. And our newest community, Elkhorn Ridge in Truesdale, just west of Wright City, minutes from Highway 70. Come and see why TR Hughes is St. Charles and now Warren County's premier home builder. TRHughes.com.
Hair Volume is the best-selling hair tablet in the world and one of many award-winning natural hair products from New Nordic. Purchase at newnordicusa.com or CVS. That's newnordicusa.com.
Na 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 na.
Follow Mark on Twitter at Mark Reardon KFTK and Instagram at Mark Talk. This is the Mark Reardon Show.
Brother, if you got a time for me, I gotta get me a ticket.
Always hear from a couple of the same listeners whenever I play MSB. Mike the Stanley Band, very popular here in St. Louis, and he passed away several years ago. We have Sue's News coming up here in just a couple of minutes. Oh, on a musical front, I don't think I told you this, Fred. I think this is interesting. So yesterday, as an old white dude in the monologue to the show, I kind of went off on a part of the Grammys,
Right.
in particular Kendrick Lamar, because he won for Record of the Year and for Song of the Year, and it's this vile, disgusting song that has N-word this, N-word that. It's about Drake diddling little girls. It's a dig on Drake. I don't really quite understand it, and I don't understand how Grammy voters can honor that in some way, shape, or form. But beyond that, and I admitted that I'm old and white, that's why I don't understand it. Beyond that, he's the Super Bowl halftime show, which I'm confused by. But I had a listener that reached out yesterday on the X, formerly Twitter, and it's someone who is a fan of the show, and he says, young black millennial, would like to talk to you about what you said. He came in very friendly and said, hey, I'm a fan of the show, would like to talk to you about, what you said about Kendrick. And I responded. I said, let's do it. So at this point, I gave him my text message, my phone number, and my email, my personal email, and said, we'll keep it off the air. But I'm genuinely interested because
I am too.
It is confusing to me. And this is one area, and I try to, I use Billie Eilish as an example because I just hated her for the longest time. And then I kind of like that Birds of a Feather song, but I still don't really quite get everything about Billie Eilish. But none of us are ever going to get everything. Look, I'm a Springsteen guy. A lot of people don't get that. The Grateful Dead, the same thing. We all have different tastes. It would be boring if we didn't. But I think with Kendrick Lamar, it's in a different category because he's performing a Super Bowl halftime show in front of children and the entire world. So I don't know how that works. The other thing about Kendrick is I've yet to hear a song that has a melody. And that could be a potential issue. I don't know. It's just confusing. But I'm glad that this listener reached out, and I'd like to have a conversation.
And we're going to talk about it some more on Friday in the 5 o'clock hour with
Tim
our
Summer.
music critic.
Right, because I reached out to Tim, and one of the things I said to Tim, and we are not on the same page politically, is help me out here. I don't get, part of it is cultural, and I don't have a lack of appreciation for all hip-hop.
Right.
I rather like some hip-hop that's worked into pop music, and some of the hip hop producers. I mentioned Anderson .Paak last week. I'm a fan of his and what Bruno Mars have done. So it's not just that necessarily that entire genre, or because he's a black dude. It's just it's not really music to me. But we'll find out. We'll explore that just a little bit. Very excited to talk with Jen Say in the next hour. She's the founder and CEO of XXXY Athletics, champion gymnast. She helped produce this documentary that's called Athlete A on Netflix about the whole Larry Nassar scandal. But, she used to run Levi's, and now she does this great athletic wear company that really focuses on empowering women. And she's got a new ad that we aired a little bit of yesterday called Real Girls Rock that has Riley Gaines and some of the other folks that have been champions on this issue. It's not going to air during the Super Bowl. However, it's gone viral. And one thing that happened yesterday that was significant is J.K. Rowling retweeted it. Something along the lines of, I've never, this might be the first and last time that I ever blast out or retweet an ad, but she did. And then I think there was even some follow-up to that today. So we'll get with Jen in the next hour. Also, Jeff Rainford, I mentioned the polling that came out over the weekend that shows the St. Louis Mayor Tashara Jones way underwater in her reelection bid. I mean, the negative numbers are quite stunning. Rainford's comment to me was, I've never seen that bad of numbers, negatives, with someone who's not embroiled in a scandal, right? Or been indicted or something along those lines. So that's coming up in the next hour. Plus, we will have, of course, audio cut of the day. But let's do this on a Tuesday afternoon with our good friend Sue Thomas.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Mark we were talking about this. I think it was off the air yesterday. So when I saw this today, I thought, I'm putting it in. 28 years ago today, in 1997, a civil jury in Santa Monica found O.J. Simpson liable for the deaths of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, his friend, or her friend, Ronald Goldman, even though the law said, nope, he's not guilty. That's when they got him for something.
So I mentioned yesterday I've gone down the rabbit hole with the new Netflix show, and it's not nearly as good as what ESPN did with, I think, which was a 10-part documentary. But, one of the things that happens here is with younger people in particular, we all know this story. We've been told and reminded about some of the details over the course of decades, but it happened so long ago that younger people don't know this story. So it is a bit of an easier documentary series to manage because it's 4 parts, and they, I'm not going to say they gloss over a lot, but they kind of focus on some of the things that we all know. And then there's a fair amount of information in here maybe that you've never seen when it relates to the evidence.
That's what I find interesting. There's stuff in there that you didn't know. And I will also say this. I had forgotten the details of this thing, but it was $8.5 million in compensatory damages that were awarded to Goldman's parents. And then 6 days later, the jury added $25 million to punitive damages to go to Nicole Brown Simpson's estate and to Fred Goldman.
Well, let me say one more thing about this because, and I'm just as addicted as a lot of you are when it comes to the OJ stuff. Look, we can't get enough of this because it was such a crazy story. And when you see the first episode of this, you relive all that. And, you remember some things that you probably forgot about the Bronco chase. But the other thing that they do a good job of reminding you several times, and you need to be reminded, is that this was a brutal murder. I mean, beyond brutal. She was almost beheaded. And there's a theory that Ron Goldman showed up and was cradling Nicole in his lap, essentially, trying to help her. And that's when OJ jumped out of the bushes and just slaughtered him. So this was beyond just a simple murder. It was a brutal murder by a sociopath. The other thing I will say in watching this is maybe I have a little bit more of an understanding from this documentary about why the jury did what they did. Not to give the jury a pass, but this prosecution and the detective, there was so many screw-ups. And when you see the amount of evidence that was not properly collected, hopefully we've rectified all these issues over the decades, I think some people will be stunned. And not that you're going to say, oh, yeah, I see why they let him off, but you may have a little bit more of an understanding as to why the defense team was so successful with the jury. They even get into the jury selection stuff. Chris Darden is featured, Marcia Clark's not. And Chris Darden essentially says Marcia was going for all female black jurors, and the jury consultants were saying, don't do that. That's the worst people you want on this jury.
That doesn't make sense.
It is interesting.
What were you going to say, Fred?
You were telling me, Mark, something about the gloves.
So they feature and I don't remember seeing this guy that much.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit gloves.
His sports agent, Mike, and I can't remember his last name, is prominently featured as one of the guests in this documentary. And there's a point, I don't remember ever hearing this, that this guy, who I think knows that OJ did it, okay? And I'm guessing by episode 4 he admits it, I think. But he said that he advised him to not take his arthritis medication. And here's why. OJ said, well, I can't do that, Mike. My knuckles will swell up. He goes, yeah, exactly.
Oh, boy.
So if you don't want the glove to fit, don't take your medicine. Geez. And this guy seemed to be boasting and was somewhat proud of that, which that didn't sit well with me. Yeah.
That is crazy. And 21 years ago today, in 2004, a little website called The Facebook was launched by a Harvard sophomore named Mark Zuckerberg. Facebook is 21 years old, and he originally did call it The Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that the movie was pretty good that they did.
It was.
Oh my gosh, I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was good,
That's
too.
one
They got a lot of facts, right?
That's one of the most iconic parts of the movie is when Justin Timberlake turns around and he says, drop the.
Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah.
I had forgotten that.
I never thought it would be possible, but I have 3 older sisters, and I think all 3 of them, I never thought they'd have the capability, but they are really into looking at Facebook things. And I keep getting sent things like things they copy paste and send to me
hilarious,
on Facebook.
Fred.
It's pretty fun.
Do you even have a Facebook page, Fred?
I think I do.
Okay, but you don't use it
that
very
tells
much.
you something that I think I do.
Yeah,
right.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know what? That's why they say, though, and not to say that Fred's sisters are older, but they are. And they say that Facebook now sways to the old people. I'm including myself in that, Fred. And then the youngsters are elsewhere. Where are the kids, Ethan?
The kids these days are on TikTok. They're on Instagram. I would say those are the two.
But they're not on Facebook.
TikTok.
That's
they're not
one
on
thing we know.
Facebook.
They're not on
No,
Facebook.
the only people on Facebook is, sorry if you're one of them, people that think that they want to be their own talk show host and they have no outlet to express their opinions and they blast out their politics. So it's for me, it's a toxic site. And I only post things related to my family and the grandson and, my bunny at this point, just because I don't find it very useful outside of that. However, I do like to keep in contact with people, across the country. I have a fair amount of friends.
That's what it's good
right.
for.
And I like it from that perspective.
I use it as storage for my photo albums.
There you go.
Room, keep them on Facebook.
Well, there's something to
idea.
that. One of the reasons that I used to post, and I don't do this as much on Instagram and Facebook, is because you have a great archive to go back. You don't have to search through all your photos.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I heard an interview this morning with Adam Wainwright on KMOX. He's got a concert coming up. He'll be singing with the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra backing
I've
him
heard
up.
about that.
Coming
That's
up in a
neat.
couple weeks. And he was saying that one of his daughters does his social media because young people are so fast
Well,
today. He
sure.
says, I still can't figure out Instagram. So she puts all my stuff up on Instagram.
funny.
Because I can do stuff on Twitter.
I don't know that I'm that far away from that with my daughter. Now, several years, but my guess is by the time she's now going to keep her off social media. But you know,
13,
these kids
right?
are
Yeah.
very good at this stuff.
Yeah,
so.
they are. I thought I'd do an update on the D.C. plane crash. Crews have recovered all of the 67 victims. They have yet to identify 2 of them. And the Army Corps of Engineers is in charge, and it is handling with as much dignity as it can for the victims. Also going on is the wreckage removal. They started with the plane, and today, they started with the plane, and then they're going to go to the helicopter next. Estimates say that it will take 3 days to remove the plane from the Potomac. Yesterday, they pulled out the fuselage, and today they were focusing on the cockpit. It's sad, but man, it's a lot to do.
And was that a week ago tonight or a week ago tomorrow night?
Ooh, I'd
I
have
think
to
it was
look that
Wednesday.
up.
I mean, it's almost, and the reason I bring that up is because you had the Philly plane crash on Friday too, but these things have happened so quickly, and then we kind of move on. Like even the fires. We're not talking about the fires anymore.
That's why I'm bringing it up.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we didn't talk about this yesterday. Puxatawney Phil did see his shadow on Sunday, which means there will be 6 more weeks of winter. Here's what I didn't know. There is a more accurate groundhog called Staten Island Chuck.
Oh, yeah. I'm familiar with Chuck.
Now, Chuck did not see his shadow, so he's predicting an early spring. Staten Island Chuck out of New York is right 85% of the time. So
Let's
I'm
go
going
with him.
I'm
Yeah.
going with
Go with him,
Chuck.
too.
That's such a great name for a
Right?
groundhog.
Does he have?
Staten
just
Island
feels
Chuck
right.
and a bulldog. I'm thinking of naming my.
Does he have any prop bet picks for the Super Bowl?
I don't know. Funnel. They did not mention that in here. The Greek island, another one for Mark. The Greek island Santorini has been experiencing earthquakes. They've had 200 of them, little minor ones since Friday, but the strongest there was 4.9, and over 20,000 people live on the island, but over 3.4 million people visit per year, including Mark Reardon and company this year.
Yep, we will be there. By the way, I think we are sold out from the original cabins that we got with Mike Kenny. But if there is one, he got one extra cabin. I haven't really talked about the trip because we're in great shape. But if you are interested in heading to Greece with the Mark Reardon Show, if you go to the top of my Twitter page at Mark Reardon KFTK, I have pinned the details. We leave on the 27th of April. We come back on March 7th. I think we have one room available. So there you go. It's going to be a fantastic trip.
So
Well,
you-
hopefully.
you said 4.9 is the largest?
Yeah.
So I was curious, how big does it have to be for you to feel it? 3.0 or greater. So these are being felt.
Yeah,
That's
they're
interesting.
just like.
And we do go to that island. Santorini
Yeah.
is the whitewashed.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah, beautiful.
Gorgeous. The last big quake there was in 1956 at a 7.5. That's a whole different deal. All right, anybody who's a Buffy the Vampire Slayer person, friend of mine is. The sequel series is close to happening. They're going to have Sarah Michelle Gellar back in it, but she will not be a Slayer, but she'll have a prominent role that's recurring, if that is your thing.
I'm a Sarah Michelle Gellar fan. Does that count?
All right, that counts for something.
Okay.
And I kind of like this story. It's the happy story of the day. The BBC did this story about a guy in England named Donovan Shears. Donovan Shears.
Nice.
Thank you. That's all I got. Who got his first cell phone in 1998 when he was 18 years old. Okay, he gets this thing, it's the flip phone, the whole 9 yards.
Please tell me he still has it.
Texting was brand new back then. So he randomly texted hello because he just wanted to see if it would work. And Ethan, it's back when it was numbers and you had to H-E-L-L-O. Randomly texted just for fun. He got a text back from a woman named Christy and ended up marrying her. Isn't that cute?
That's so funny.
So they got married 4 years later. They have 2 kids who are ages 6 and 9.
That's even better than still using the phone.
I know. And I just thought that was amazing. I can't believe it happened. And finally, in Sue's News, we have today's random fact. And this one, say what? Okay. I just bought a bunch of AAA batteries and AA. Are there size A batteries or B? Because we have C and D.
I don't know the answer to that, Sue.
Yeah.
I believe I'm about to find out if I had to guess.
Mark? They're just rarely used, but they're still occasionally used overseas for things like bicycle lamps, and they do exist. And there you have it.
There
how
you
about
go.
that?
You always learn something here on a Sue's News segment on the Mark Reardon Show. We're going to find out a little bit more about tariffs in the stock market, what's going on with that, next on 97.1 FM Talk with Dave Simons.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
We've got an accident on westbound 44 past Barrie. Watch for that in the left lane, and there is a jam behind that. The other serious jam is headed into Illinois on the Poplar Street Bridge. This is a parking lot jam from the start of the bridge all the way through eastbound 5570 between 64 and 203, where the left lanes are blocked for road work. And by the way, that closure is in effect until tomorrow. They hope to have it reopened by 3 in the afternoon. Southbound 55, slow pocket south of Arsenal through Revis Barracks. And westbound 70 looks pretty good out of downtown, but 64 is lining up near Kings Highway out past McCausland. And then things through there look a little bit better. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
I think I mentioned this last week when I was having a conversation about our good friend and sponsor, Susan L. Ward. I have two friends that are going through divorces right now. One of them I hadn't heard from in a while. I reached out last week and found out that the marriage was coming to an end. I had not known about that. And then I have another friend that's kind of going through a real brutal situation. And it's tough, and I've been there myself. It's not something you go out and you send a text message to a bunch of friends, say, hey, do you have a divorce attorney I can use? Because you want to keep things private. And, you know, it is very personal, and there's a lot of emotions that are involved. So if you're interested in legal help along these lines, you want competent, experienced legal help, and that's Susan L. Ward. A ton of experience. She knows the judges, her and her team. Something like that, you'd be amazed at how important that is. So it's not only the end of a marriage, it's any kind of issues related to children, domestic partnerships, post-divorce issues, modifications to existing orders. They can help you with all of that. If you call them at 314-783-9400, tell Susan and the team you heard about it here on 97.1 FM Talk. And their website is fantastic and has all the information, a confidential consultation form, anything you need to know, even a blog about some of the topics that they specialize in and cover. STLFamilyLaw.com, the focus on family law and the emphasis on you, Susan L. Ward.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Being first in line can be very important to homeowners. First in line for the plumber, first in line for the HVAC guy, first in line for Banner Construction. It's Banner Construction's winter home event, and you can be first in line this spring and save before the annual price increases. Banner Construction is a James Hardy and Pelowina replacement specialist, and now is the best time to schedule a free in-home consultation with no obligation. Call 314-569-1050 or see them online and have a banner day.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-700-6898. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898 or biglou.com.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
428. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Download the Odyssey app to listen to 97.1 FM Talk and find content that moves you. Anytime, anywhere. The Odyssey app for 97.1 FM Talk on the go.
St. Louis is home for conservative talk.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show.
Jen Say, after the top of the hour. Jen is awesome. She used to run Levi's, but she's the founder and CEO of XXXY Athletics. They released a Super Bowl ad of sorts. It's not going to air during the Super Bowl, but for this week called Real Girls Rock. It's outstanding. And she is on Team Riley Gaines and, Jamie Reed, our whistleblower from here in St. Louis. They all have really worked together to achieve a lot of amazing things when it comes to, allowing women to play against other women in sports, not against biological men. So Jennifer Say, a little bit after the top of the hour. Then I mentioned these, there's a poll that came out. Sometimes you kind of can ignore polls, and then sometimes something jumps at you, a poll about the mayor's race in St. Louis. For those of you who are hoping for some changes in the city of St. Louis, there is, some hope, because the negatives against Tashara Jones in this recent poll are just off the charts. Jeff Rainford, who used to be the chief of staff for a mayor who is competent, Mayor Slay, long for the days when the actual work of the city just got done.
Yeah, right.
He's going to join us at 5:30. Plus, I'll have audio cut of the day. So a little calm on Wall Street. One thing that I've kind of trained myself to do over the years, if not decades, is when you see a big swing one day on Wall Street, if you give it a little time, a lot of times it swings back. But there are a lot of questions about the tariffs, and there's some unease and uncertainty out there. Dave Simons, the host of Dollars and Cents on our sister station KMOX, who is the managing director at One Private Wealth in Chesterfield, is with us this afternoon. David, how are you?
I'm fabulous, Mark. How are you, sir?
I'm good. So a little recovery today, not as bleak as yesterday. Let's start with that.
Yeah, so, what? This actually started late in the day on Friday. I just kind of happened to look up and saw, whoa, the market was actually doing pretty well today. Why did we just drop off a cliff several hundred points? Well, that's when the early word got out that Donald Trump over the weekend was probably going to go ahead and announce, hey, I'm doing these 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico and 10% across the board in China. And sure enough, that's what we got. So the market successfully sniffed that out late in the day on Friday. That continued Monday. But then we got the turn, as you had mentioned, later in the day yesterday and again today, after these so-called compromise, where those two aforementioned countries said, okay, we can do these things here. Can you give us a little break? Donald Trump said, sure, you got 30 days. So that's where we are.
And where the market is basically, we don't know where this is going to take us. There's a little uncertainty, but there's no real way to gauge how all of this is going to work because we don't know what the end game is going to be.
Yeah, this is headline ping pong. I mean, I'll give you an example. I write a weekly commentary that comes out every Friday. I've been writing it for 25 years. And what I typically do is I'll have a germination of an idea that will come to me Monday, Tuesday. I'll kind of work on it and complete it by Thursday. Well, I thought, okay, this is a tariff week. This is the big topic. That's what I should be writing on. Mark, I started yesterday. It's the old proverbial kind of rip up the page, start again. 2 hours later, rip up the page, start again. This morning, up here. And I just decided I can't do this. It changes by the minute, although it seems to have settled down now. So I'll either come up with another topic or literally wait until late Thursday night and write it. But to your point, my advice to investors is you can't really trade this because there's a good chance you can guess wrong. just stay with your long-term plan. I have a feeling this will not be as disruptive to the financial markets as maybe I thought a few weeks ago, based on what I've seen in the last 24 hours.
Because one of the messages from the administration is nothing is settled until it's final, which I think that's a good lesson with Trump, because we know it's art of the deal and there's things that he puts out there, and they pull back, and they've pulled back on a few things here just to see where things settle out.
Well, and that, Mark, you just hit it right there, because you have to understand Trump's mentality with virtually everything. And that is, he was birthed on the mean streets of New York real estate, all right, where knees get capped and worse. And so that's what he knows. I don't think his grasp of a lot of economics, frankly, is that strong, but he is a master negotiator. And that's how he wins. And look what's happened already. I mean, it really looked like we were going to have tariffs that were going to start today. And all of a sudden the other two sides said, well, hold on. Let's kind of talk through this. Now, they didn't give up much, but at least it was a start. That's how Donald Trump works. He negotiates. He goes way out onto the extremes. He said, that's what I want. And then once he finally does get something, both sides feel like they win.
So where are we on the inflation front when it comes to what's been happening on Wall Street? Because obviously, and I don't even know what the next move might be for the Fed, but we don't have that under control yet.
No, it kind of started to come down and then leveled off, and there are some hints that maybe it would incrementally tick up. But I think we're kind of in a range, Mark. I don't see the Fed reaching their goal of just 2% inflation. It's staying stubbornly closer to that 3%, and I think that's where it's going to settle in, and that's without tariffs. If President Trump really got everything that he wanted, and I don't think he really does, and he's not expecting it, I think he understands this could be very inflationary. He is using it as a cudgel to get what he wants with border control and fentanyl, policing and things like that at the borders. If we did get 10 to 25% tariffs and we got into a global trade war, we're in trouble. I mean, you and I would be having a completely different discussion, and I would be telling you how we're getting much more defensive and we're buying a lot of inflation-protected type of investments. We haven't done that because I don't think we'll get to that extreme.
Well, we kind of hope we won't get to that extreme, right?
Hope that's it. And that's why I've told people when I have clients going, what do you think? And I said, look, man, my opinion on this, or where I think we're going, is your opinion is every bit as valid. Nobody knows where this thing lands. And we're not even talking about China. Maybe he can negotiate more effectively with the folks in Mexico and in Canada, but President Xi is a completely different animal. They play the long game over there. He doesn't have to answer to anybody. So if Trump really starts to play hardball, things could get a little messy. I'm hopeful that won't happen, but it's something we're watching.
All right, Dave, thank you so much. It's always helpful. Dave Simons, the host of Dollars and Cents over on the other side of the building on KMOX. Appreciate it.
Anytime, Mark.
Let me kind of segue into a little bit more talk here about USAID, and we talked about that yesterday, and this is kind of fascinating to me. So one of the things, and I don't think a lot of people knew what this organization did, $40 to $50 billion budget. They help, in theory with U.S. foreign policy, they help feed some places across the planet. I don't really think we know everything that USAID does, but what we do know is they spend a lot of money. And what happened over the weekend was, and late last week, and people are freaking out, Elon Musk goes in, Doge is like, hey, we're gonna kind of take over here. That wasn't something that a lot of people took kindly to. They backed off a little bit on the seizing of the information. But the points here remain very valid about what the money is being spent on and why we haven't had more focus. I mean, there's so many things that have happened in the last 10 days where I've said to myself, hey, maybe we should have looked into some of this sooner. And one of the reasons that we haven't had that is because the legacy media is not interested in this at all. They don't want to look at the serious consequences of our country spending money on things that have no relation to the American people. Now, the way that this is sold is, well, this makes foreign policy better for us overall. Okay, well, let's see some ROI. How does it do that? But along those lines, this is interesting. This is a guy by the name of Larry Alex Taunton. I don't know him. He's a podcaster. He's got a blog. I'm going to air some audio here from Larry that was recorded a year ago, okay? This is from a year ago, and he's raising questions about some of the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations. Look, even Catholic Charities has been mentioned here because they help with a lot of the migrants, maybe not even necessarily from South America or Mexico, but from other parts of Africa, etc. So questions about that. But here's Larry doing a report a year ago.
I'm at one of the aid stations in Colombia. So these migrants who are coming from all over the world, because the Biden administration has essentially sent out the message to the entire world, the U.S. border is open. So people are coming, and they're coming from Africa and the Middle East and from Asia, and of course from all over this continent, the South American continent.
I want to mention, though, the one thing that he does point out, because this is something that doesn't get discussed in the legacy media. Bill Malugin did such a great job last year, and I'd say the last couple of years, exposing the migrants coming across the border that weren't from Mexico or South America, Chinese nationals, Africans, etc. So he's pointing some of that out.
You see, these countries that they're passing through don't want them. The migrant crisis is so enormous that they can't stop it. So what do? They set up aid stations in order to help these people move along. Don't stay here. Don't stay in our country. We know you're headed to the United States. Here's a little medicine. Here's a little bit of money. Here's a little bit of food. Now move on.
All right. So then how does the money work? Where does it come from? Where is it spent?
Where's the money coming from for this kind of operation? I mean, these are enormous operations. Yes? Well, take a look here. You got a sign right here, if you can see it, that tells you that the aid is coming from the USA, and that's exactly what's happening here. So you essentially have the Biden administration that is aiding and abetting in human trafficking. That's exactly what we're seeing happening here.
So let's be clear. I don't know who that guy is. Maybe some of you do. Larry Alex Taunton. He's not a reporter with the New York Times. He's not with an esteemed publication like the Washington Post, right? But he's actually doing real reporting. And he's asking some questions that are pretty valid and now are coming home full circle. Again, that was recorded more than a year ago. So they go in to USAID. I think this is fascinating. This is an employee who comes out of the office and is explaining what was going on with Elon and, the effort to kind of shut down some of this. But I think it's also kind of revealing.
Doge was in the building. We took down our pride flags. I took out any books I felt would be incriminating.
Let's stop right there. Did you hear what she said? We took down our pride flags.
Yeah.
I took away books that I, might be incriminating. Like, I think it was Elon Musk. Elon's pretty on fire out there on his own platform. He said, like, the Communist Manifesto. I mean, what are you talking about? What books do you have to get rid of, right? That's fascinating.
No one was talking. We heard they started taking transcripts automatically of all of our Google Meets. They unplugged the news in the little kitchen galleys. It didn't feel good. And then Saturday, all of the websites went down. And then I lost complete access to my computer.
Okay, so she's very upset about that. I think the response that I would have is maybe this is good. Let's find out where this money is coming from. Where is it going to? They're taking a lot of heat because of the way that they did it. But again, I think some of this was put on pause. Marco Rubio is in charge of that agency. I just think it's fascinating that we have an entire organization within the U.S. government that no one really is familiar with. No one can really tell you what the money is spent on and how it's used. And we've never been thoroughly informed about that. I mentioned 60 Minutes earlier on the show because they came here to St. Louis and did their nonsense reporting. How about maybe a show like that that's supposed to kind of be about journalism and really reporting and sharing information and discovering some of these things? I think there was an era where this type of reporting would have been done, even at 60 Minutes, but no longer because it's all about the migrants. It's not about, and I'll give you a little bit more example of that here coming up as well. They don't want to focus, and CBS actually did a very interesting account, but they're not focusing on violent crime victims here in this country. They're focusing on the migrants, of course. That's coming up.
Always take the weather with you everywhere you go. You always take the weather everywhere you go.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Oh, I love that. Okay, now on the roads, we've got some issues. On the Illinois side, road work continues. It's bridge work, they say. Eastbound 5570 in the two left lanes between 64 and 203. And we've got heavy traffic on the Poplar Street Bridge. It's much better than it was yesterday, but it still exists. And some volume eastbound on the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge. 44 westbound slowing in front of the arch. We've got westbound 6440 lining up now. Kings Highway out past McCausland. Some volume at Lindbergh. 70 is your best bet. It looks pretty good. And southbound 55, slow pockets south of Arsenal, down through Revis Barracks. By the way, 255 is closed on the Illinois side between Route 15 and 157, and 157 is jammed. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Sponsored by Robert Half.
Having difficulty hiring? Robert Half is here to help. Our recruiting professionals utilize an award-winning AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com/talent today.
Well, I want to introduce you to Game Day Men's Health, guys, because if you have low testosterone issues, if you are looking for medical weight loss, vitamin therapy, peptide therapy is something I learned about at Game Day Men's Health, which is really, really interesting. They have ED treatments that address the root causes and provide long-term solutions, and they have such a comfortable and relaxed environment. Your first visit, by the way, is free. They'd love to get you in. It's an all-inclusive pricing, by the way, and all medicine and supplies are included in the follow-up visits. But I want to focus on what Game Day is really all about. It's just a comfortable surrounding. You're going to go in, you'll see some TVs and some other memorabilia that's on the wall, and they'll make you feel comfortable, very comfortable. They have an awesome staff. They're trained experts in men's health. They'll make you feel like a king, very compassionate. And again, it's not going to take a lot of your time. It's private. You got sports on the big screen TVs, and your first visit, if you'd like to check them out, is free, and they'll test your blood. So go into Game Day Men's Health. Get back in the game is what we like to say. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. They're in Chesterfield. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Tell them that we sent you along.
Don't miss Mosby Building Arts Home Improvement Show, Saturdays from 12 to 1 p.m. on 97.1. One of the last call-in shows where you can get live answers to your remodeling, design, and construction questions. Tune in Saturdays at noon.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right nice soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
When you've been hurt in an accident, you need a law firm that wins. Onder wins. For over 100 years, Onder Law has been winning for St. Louis. With over $5 billion in negotiated settlements and over $300 million in verdicts, Onder wins. Voted best law firm by STL Today 2 years in a row, Onder wins. Whether it's settlements, verdicts, or awards, Onder wins. If you've been hurt in a car accident, trucking accident, or hurt on the job, Onder Law will get you the money you deserve. At Onder Law, winning is what we do. So when the stakes are high, Onder wins. Call us today for a free consultation. We don't get paid unless we win for you. Dial 314 or 6189-MILLION. That's 314 or 6189, then all zeros. Or visit us online at onderwins.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
John Rogers. Mexico and Canada kind of realized he's probably willing to put this 25% tariff on there and leave it for a while, so we better come to the table and try to figure out a way to make this come to an end.
The Mark Cox Morning Show, weekdays from 5 to 9.
You know, on the tariff front, one of the play-by-play guys for the Vancouver Canucks, John Shorthouse is his name. He'll have fun with this last night.
This will actually be a 2.5-minute power play for the Detroit Red Wings due to the 25% tariff that has been imposed on penalties to Canadian-based teams. Seems excessive. I kid, of course.
He's making it a little funny there. You see what he did? You see what he did? You know, they booed us. They in Toronto, they booed the American anthem because of all of this. I mean, I don't think it was like overwhelming, but let's just kind of see where all this takes us, right?
Yes.
You know what? I want to get on the phone with our friend Joe Warmington, who's up there in Toronto. Joe is awesome. He's a columnist for the Toronto Sun, and he is not a Justin Trudeau guy, and he, you know, kind of appreciates some of the things that Donald Trump has done for certain. But, you know, one of the things that Joe always does, there's a big difference between, I think sometimes we don't recognize the differences in our system compared to the Canadian system because they don't have the freedoms that we enjoy, and they do things very, very differently. But I'd love to know, I'm just going to be honest, so I don't have enough of an understanding of how these tariffs might work back and forth to really make a judgment call and call balls and strikes. I'm at the point where I kind of have to see where this falls out and shakes out and what the negotiations are all about, and we'll see what economic impact there will be. But again, as we pointed out with Dave Simons, the market reacting yesterday, everyone's panicked about their 401k, today back on track. So I think just take a deep breath and everything will be okay. Jen Say coming off after the top of the hour. She's the founder and CEO of XXXY Athletics, used to run Levi's, and has a great new ad that is going to, well, it's going viral. It's kind of a Super Bowl ad that's not going to air during the Super Bowl. She'll explain in the next hour. All right, I mentioned CBS and their focus. So a couple of things here. They do a story and they went to look, we have to have a little empathy here. They go to a Guatemalan migrant who is not here in this country legally, and they catch her on camera, and she's crying, and she's talking about how, and Sue, this is where I have some questions. She said, the translation of this is essentially, I'm trying to, send money back to my family. I'm worried about my family. She said she spent $25,000 to get here. Okay, now, there's a question that I'd love to ask, and Chris Clem, we can't ask him anymore because he's with the administration, but even someone like Bill Maloogian from Fox, if you're spending $15,000 to $25,000 just to get here to send money back to your family, couldn't you maybe use that money and just keep it in your family? I don't know how the math works there, but CBS wanted to focus on that person. They didn't want to focus on the American citizens who were affected by all this illegal migration. Now, I don't know who this reporter is. This is a new dude. He's Asian, and it's kind of irrelevant who he is. But he goes down there to the border, and he talks with a guy that's an American who's helping bring people over the border and making a lot of money doing it. So they disguise this guy's face and his voice, and here's what the report sounds like.
We drove overnight to a safe house near the southern border in New Mexico to meet a woman who just hours ago arrived on U.S. soil illegally. Why are you here?
Buscando una vida mejor.
You want a better life. This woman says she was desperate to escape the violence in Zacatecas, Mexico. She paid smugglers over $15,000 to get here. By morning, she'll be dropped off at her final destination elsewhere in the U.S. We learned her journey was facilitated by a network of Americans smuggling people from across the nearly 2,000-mile-long stretch of the southern border.
Yeah, so this reporting is actually interesting. My criticism of CBS is, hey, how about some stories on people in this country that have been affected in negative ways from these migrants? But what he does is he kind of goes into detail about how this process sort of takes off once they cross the border. And there are people who are American citizens that are cashing in on this, and that's where this guy comes into play.
How many people have you moved?
I would say close to 500.
500. This man, who we're calling Joe, was born and raised right here in the Southwest. First, he gets sent a location by a smuggling organization.
I get GPS sent to me, come out here, and we get in my vehicle, and then we head on out.
So he makes $2,000 for each transaction, right? So you're talking about,
That's a lot of money.
That's $1 million, right? So here's a little bit more. This is the guy whose voice has been, disguised, etc.
After migrants cross into the U.S. illegally with the help of the cartels, Joe meets them.
We're going to a motel that was used as, a place to help illegal immigrants stay and live there for a few days before they would catch rides to go up north.
There's a guy that's kind of looking around. So these hotels and motels across the region are used to stash migrants.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. All the time.
I'd like to know, who's paying for the hotels and what the hotel's role in this would be as well. So he essentially is showing the CBS reporter how some of this stuff takes place and the people are in the hotels, and then he kind of facilitates the rest of it.
Joe told us he lost his job during the pandemic. This is about money. He says he makes about $2,000 for every person he helps into the U.S. and sometimes moves 6 people a week. These are wire transfers from the illegal migrants you've moved. $1,500, $1,500, $2,500. Wow. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's an operation. Now, one of the things that, and I don't have this audio, but I can paraphrase it, Sue, the reporter from CBS says, look, people in this country his words were exactly, he said, they're pissed off at you because you're part of this. And his rationalization for all this, and I think this kind of, comes off as hollow because he's making a ton of money. He tries to make it seem like he's doing God's work because he's helping these people who are in desperate situations who want to help their families. And in many cases, that's very true. And we understand that. But it's not the process, and it's not something that should be allowed, especially when it comes to invasion. Right. There is that. But this stuff gets so complicated, and there's so much money in the cartels. There's probably bribery and all these other things that go on. So just the fact that Tom Homan and I think the forces behind this president have shut the border down for the first time in how many years? Probably more effectively than even what happened during the first administration, for sure. And we'll continue to keep you posted on that. What Tom Homan's doing is kicking butt out there. All right, Jen Say, who used to run Levi's, who's got some great messaging when it comes to women in athletics that don't have penises. That's coming up.
I love.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com. Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, the roads this afternoon, we've got our issues out there. One of those, of course, is downtown. If you are headed into Illinois, things actually look better than they did just an hour ago. But eastbound 5564, which becomes 5570, is still a slow go from about Route 3 onto the Illinois side. We've got some slow-moving traffic coming off the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge. And 44 is jammed, and this is in both directions, between 70, right there in front of the arch in the depressed section. Southbound 55, slow pockets south of Arsenal through Revis Barracks. 44 is a little bit slow, especially at Kings Highway this afternoon. Same thing with 6440. That's a slow go, and that's mainly approaching Kings Highway. Moderate volume that stretches out through Ballas. And 70 is slowing right around 141. This report brought to you by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Right now, the Fix-It-Right guys at Jerry Kelly will come tune up and inspect your furnace for just $98. It's normally $143, and that's very little money for a whole lot of peace of mind. Check it out now at
JerryKelly.com.
Could you make $500,000 in retirement savings feel like $1 million, or $1 million feel like $2 million? You know what? You actually can. And the key is having a comprehensive financial plan that includes taxes, Social Security, inflation, healthcare, income, all of it. Now, how can you make your money go a lot further in retirement? Well, it's a 3-hour adult education class that helps you, and it's called Retirement Planning 101. It's just a one-night class taught by a fiduciary advisor from Financial and Tax Architects. They have so much experience, and they hold these at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis. It's free. They just ask that you bring 3 canned goods for St. Louis Crisis Nursery. If you have saved $300,000 or more for retirement, register by calling 314-947-2012, 314-947-2012.
The colder weather is here, and my friends at Hanson's Tree Service want to offer you a 10% winter discount for all tree care scheduled between January and March of next year. Mark Cox here. Call now. Get your spot secured. Also, when it comes to winter plant health care, it's a great time to get one of their arborists over. Have them to prescribe the best treatment options for your trees during the fall and winter season. Tell them you heard Mark Cox talking about it. Schedule your appointment today at hansonstree.com.
What's it going to take for you to realize the IRS is in full-blown attack mode, and if you have IRS issues, your timely response is critical? Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. We certainly know the IRS has ramped up efforts because we're seeing a lot more clients with threats of intents to seize property or levy rights to property. If you have IRS issues, call the Lance Drury Firm today. Today, don't wait. Those IRS notices have hard deadlines for exercising your appeal rights. If you miss the deadline, your rights to a legal appeal are gone. Let the Lance Drury Law Firm get between you and the IRS today, and we'll help you manage your case to achieve the best outcome. IRS problems are serious legal matters, so call Lance Drury Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Don't wait. Call 314-260-6120. That's 314-260-6120, and schedule your free consultation with me, Lance Drury, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture. Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Jen Say perfectly timed. She's coming up after the top of the hour. Trump's going to sign an executive order banning transgender girls from boys' sports.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Peace. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump meeting at the White House with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as Israel and Hamas continue to work through the phases of the hostage deal. The president suggesting Palestinians who have been displaced in the war with Hamas could be housed somewhere else.
Right now, I've seen every picture from every angle, better than if I were there, and nobody can live there. You can't live there.
The president suggesting other Arab nations in the region could take them in.
If we can build something for them in one of the countries, and it could be Jordan, and it could be Egypt, it could be other countries, and you could build 4 or 5 or 6 areas. It doesn't have to be one area.
The comments coming as the president and his advisors made the case that a 3 to 5 year timeline for reconstruction of Gaza, which was part of a temporary ceasefire deal, was not viable. Trump and Netanyahu were meeting privately now. The two expected to discuss additional military aid for Israel. Earlier today, the president said he's open to sending Americans to prisons abroad.
Reacting to an offer from the president of El Salvador, President Trump says he'd be fine with putting some American criminals in prisons in other countries.
If we had the legal right to do it, I would do it in a heartbeat. I don't know if we do or not. We're looking at that right now. But we could make deals where we'd get these animals out of our country.
El Salvador's president says his country would jail inmates from the U.S. for a fee. President Trump says there are other countries that have also made offers.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. Any attempt to deport U.S. citizens or lawful residents through a foreign jail would likely face legal challenges. U.S. citizens born in the U.S. are legally protected from deportation. The nominations of 2 of President Trump's more controversial cabinet picks, Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., have advanced to the full Senate. America's listening to Fox News.
I've just been feeling so sluggish lately.
You should try the Metamucil 2-week challenge.
The Metamucil 2-week challenge?
Yeah, Metamucil 4-in-1 fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Start your daily routine now, and in 2 weeks, you could be feeling great. Well, it's been 2 weeks. How you feeling?
Lighter and feeling great.
If you want to feel lighter by promoting digestive health, sign up to take the 2-week challenge at Metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Ever have one of those days where your gut just feels blah?
Ugh, yes.
Occasional bloating or gas could be signs that your gut is out of balance, but Align Probiotic can help. Align 24/7 Digestive Support is a daily use probiotic with a unique strain to help relieve occasional digestive issues. It's the #1 doctor-recommended brand. So when you feel the signs, it's time to try Align. Align Probiotic. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Well, that 76 we had yesterday, certainly a thing of the past. The winter chill is back. Temperatures drop out of the 40s into the upper 30s this evening. 35 for the low. Lots of clouds around, a little bit of drizzle, maybe even a couple of icy spots here and there towards morning. Wednesday, cloudy skies, periods of rain and drizzle, a chilly 45. Rain continues, maybe a rumble of thunder Wednesday night. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Eggland's Best, the only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, organic, free-range, and pasture-raised. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
This is attorney Todd Nissenholtz of Kaufman Townsley. When you suffer a serious work injury, not choosing the best lawyer will cost you. It costs you time, it costs you money. Settling too quickly with the insurance company. But here's the good news. Since you don't pay unless we win, you can afford the very best. And that's Kaufman Townsley. Call 314-500-5000 for a no-charge conversation. It costs you nothing to call, but may cost you everything if you don't. Call 314-500-5000.
Hey, it's Annie and Stewie here talking about the market right now for buying a home. If you've been thinking about relocating and you're not sure if the season is right now to go buy, Stewie, you've got something to say about that.
You know what, Annie? This is the season. Be smart. Traditionally, the wintertime is when it's slower for sellers. They're more apt to give you a better price. Take advantage now. Now, here's what's going to happen if you wait. You wait till spring. There's going to be lower interest rates, more bidding wars, higher prices. Not the smart way to go. Buy now, pay the higher interest rate. When the rates drop in spring, you can always refinance for free. Then you'll get the right price for the right home and make sure you get the house without all the other bidding wars happening, and you'll be happier and you'll pay less at the end of the day.
And when he says you can refinance for free, that's with the Bagel Loan. With your purchase or refinance, $0 in closing costs on your new mortgage. 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Google the Bagel Loan, NMLS number 226715.
All right, what a combination. Missouri sports fans, great news. Underdog Fantasy is available and just in time here for the big game this weekend. You can have a lot of fun, and it's very, very easy with the Champions game. So you just kind of go online. First thing you got to do is you got to download the app. It's a yellow app. Look for the App Store, I guess, and look for Underdog Fantasy. You download that, use the promo code MARKR, M-A-R-K-R, and get signed up. And then you just have to kind of have some fun. And you can do this with just the big game in football. You can win up to 1,000 times your money by choosing higher or lower on the stat lines. How many yards will Patrick Mahomes, throw for? Jalen Hurts, will he get a rushing touchdown? Some examples of that. You can do everything with football, or you can mix and match across the NHL, make some Blues picks, and you'll have some fun with this. And really, you can cash out whenever you want. You can press the Win Now button, or you can roll into the next Champions game if you want. So if you sign up today, keep in mind the big game coming up, Underdog, the best place to play Champions. Sign up, deposit now with the promo code MARKR, M-A-R-K-R, and you'll get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. And if you're here in Missouri, you'll get an additional $50 in bonus cash automatically when you play your first $5 entry. The promo code is MARKR, must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms and conditions apply. $10 deposit minimum. See UnderdogFantasy.com for terms and conditions. Concerned with your play, call 800-GAMBLER or visit ncbgambling.org.
Hey, Jimmy Fallon here with a quick listening tip for you. If you miss Fox Across America or any of your other Fox News favorites, do not worry. I got you covered. You can stream previously aired shows with Rewind, available exclusively on the free Odyssey app. So if you're busy work days, it doesn't mean you have to miss out on the news. Listen to your Fox shows on your time with Odyssey. To get started, just download the free Odyssey app and search for Fox News Radio. That's Odyssey, Audacy. I'm spelling it out in case you're a little slow like me.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friends Mark and Neil Gelman from the Gelman team of eXp Realty. Selling your home, every situation is unique. Find the best options that are right for you from the real estate team who offer more options. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
Get dressed for the 10th anniversary of Gentmen's Fashion Week on February 16th, 2025 at Energizer Park to raise awareness for men's prostate cancer through men's fashion. More information can be found on 971fmtalk.com/events. This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. Follow Mark on Twitter at Mark Reardon KFTK and Instagram at Mark Talk. You're listening to the Mark Reardon Show.
I had to roll that a little longer. Hadn't heard the Stray Cats in a while.
Right.
From the Rock This Town. I was kind of torn between Stray Cat Strut and Rock This Town this morning, and I went with this one. So, it's Super Bowl week, and today was Media Day. That's when a bunch of people who somehow got credentials for the Super Bowl ask a bunch of stupid questions in front of the players and the coaches. And maybe that's what happened today. Although I think some people were having a little fun with this. Travis Kelce.
Travis, what do you love more, Taylor Swift or phantom 15-yard roughing the passer penalties in the playoffs?
That's a good question. Anybody else?
What did he say?
Did he say that's a dumb question, or did he say that's a good question? Wait, let's listen here.
It's a good question.
I couldn't tell what he said. Here's my homie.
Patrick, for your whole career, you have had so many great people help you win. So who is your favorite ref?
All the refs are great, man. All the refs are great. They do the best they can.
That's boring.
Play the game the right way.
Is there one that you give a Christmas card to every year, possibly?
Come on.
Not that I can remember. I'll have to talk to some of my teammates.
You can't hear what he's saying. But, you have all these guys that want to be funny, haha, at Media Day. And every once in a while, they used to send, this goes way back in time. Do you remember when Jay Leno had the what was the gay kid's name that was kind of funny, and he used him as a correspondent? This doesn't ring a bell. And I would watch Leno. Anyway, he had this guy, and I can't remember where he made his. It might have been a reality show or something like that. But he was very effeminately gay, and that was part of the gimmick, right? But they would send him out to things like this, like they'd send him to the Emmys or the Oscars or to the Media Day, and he would ask questions, and it kind of worked because of who he was, and then eventually people knew who that kid was, and they had a little fun with it. But some of this stuff is, if I'm a professional football player, I'm getting ready for the biggest game in my career. Obviously, if you're a Kansas City Chief, you've had that preparation many times. You're like, really? I know it's part of the gig. You got to put up with this.
Yeah.
But
it gets really bad. Super Bowl questions, because every reporter wants to go, and then you get, God knows what you get in the room,
Well, and so, I experienced a fair amount of this when I was in Hollywood, because when you do these junkets, the actors hear the same questions over and over and over again, and it gets to. But again, it's part of the gig. So when I ever did those, I felt so terrible about asking the stupid questions. I try to create opportunities to ask different questions, but even then, sometimes you get in trouble because you don't know if someone's going to play ball and have some fun with it.
I get it.
Right. Anyway, we'll continue to talk about the Super Bowl as we get closer to the game. Now, this is interesting. I got Jen Say jumping on the line here from XXXY Athletics. One of the big stories of the day is President Trump is preparing to issue another EO tomorrow, this one effectively banning transgender girls and women from participating in female sports events. obviously a campaign promise. He is going to sign an order. I'm guessing Will Sharf will hand it to him, and he'll use the marker and the Sharpie, and he'll sign it. It's called Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports. Nancy Mace, who is from South Carolina, said in a press release this afternoon that she will join the president as he issues the order. This executive order restores fairness, upholds Title IX's original intent, defends the right of female athletes who have worked their whole lives to compete at the highest levels. You know, one of the things that'll be interesting to see, well, first of all, this is going to be, you know, legally challenged, I'm certain. But what will the reaction be on many of the Democrats? Because there's no doubt that the Democrats have probably, many of them, not all, have come to terms with the fact that the trans ad that they ran against Kamala with the, you know, inmates in prison and tax dollars funding that had an effect. And again, we've described this as an 80-20 or a 90-10 issue. I would say on this particular front, it's 95-5.
I would agree.
Maybe 98. Most people who are sane in this country don't think that biological men should compete against biological women, right?
The entire point of Title IX was so that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, but I know that Jen's going to talk about this. The NCAA, they're a very tricky organization, and we'll see if it has an effect on them. But before she joins us here, this is the ad that came out yesterday, and it's gone viral.
Riley Gaines and Sia Leahy are in hot water over their transphobic comments, and I just gotta say, who cares if biological males play in women's sports?
So you see Riley Gaines and some other folks, and they're in preparation to make their bodies stronger and to compete. And the ad is framed around them listening to this on the radio with people who are basically, you know, shoving the concerns to the side, saying, oh, this doesn't happen to many people.
Be inclusive.
Could not agree more. This is just a bunch of fear-mongering from right-wing bigots.
So a lot of this is visual, and then you see Riley and this volleyball player from UNLV who really took a strong stand in the fall, preparing, you know, for their particular sport, working out and excelling, and then the ad goes on.
These female athletes just need to work harder.
And not blame others for their lack of success.
A really, really well done and empowering ad, and I hope that you take time to watch it. I don't think it's going to be on during the actual game, but we'll find out. Jennifer Say is with us. She is the CEO and the founder of XXXY Athletics. She used to run Levi's, and she's been a leader along with Riley Gaines and many of these other folks, including Jamie Reed that we've mentioned before. The ad is called Real Girls Rock. Jen Say, welcome back. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing pretty well. Thank you for having me. I'm doing great. The ad is like taking off like a rocket.
Oh, it really has. But do you need me? Because just to be clear, one of the things that people were asking yesterday is this: will this actually run during the Super Bowl? I mean, do you need me to cut you a check for $8 million to do a 30-second ad or more than that?
Well, right now, the film, as I call it, is close to 2 minutes. So it would be 4 times $8 million. And no, it won't actually be. $8 million is kind of steep for a startup. And, you know, as a longtime chief marketing officer, I will say I'm not so sure it's worth the $8 million. You know, we're getting an insane amount of views. We've gotten well past 10 million views already, and we haven't paid anything yet. So
yeah, it's awesome.
I'm going to take viral views for now as a win.
All right, because I was willing to do the $8 million, but not the $32 million, just so you know. That wasn't going to be something I could do. But I played a little bit here before the interview. Just sort of explain how this all came together and who the players are. We see Riley Gaines in here, Sia Leahy. Is that how you pronounce her name?
Leahy.
Yeah.
It's hard. I know. I might be getting it wrong, and I'm apologizing in advance to Sia, who's amazing. So, I mean, the idea, so tomorrow is National Women and Girls in Sports Day, Girls and Women in Sports Day. And so we started thinking about that day, you know, a few months ago, and what did we want to do to sort of celebrate that day. And we really wanted to make an ad that celebrates the hard work, the discipline, the training, the resilience. You know, it really, the ad shows how early these girls get up, how hard they work, the injuries they face, the failures, and they develop the resilience to rise and try again. And that's really why we want our children to play sports. So it's, you know, it's intended to be a raw and very honest look at the journey that is fueled by their passion and perseverance. And as we were discussing the ad, we realized that for those girls and women that dare stand up for the integrity of women's sports and keeping them for females only, not only do they endure that crazy training regimen, they also endure brutal harassment, which is well reported on, you know, from Riley to me to people like Sia. And so we just wanted to celebrate them because they're amazing. And the three main athletes in the ad, very different sports. One is JC Bassett, who is an internationally competitive Taekwondo athlete. She actually is a member of the Costa Rican national team, and she's recently won medals at the most recent World Championships. I think she placed second in her weight class. Neely Gaines, who's a gymnast and is Riley Gaines' sister, and she's the Tennessee state champion. And Sia, who you just mentioned, who is from the University of Nevada. She's a volleyball player, and she led a boycott of their team and their school against San Jose State University with no support from her university. Her university urged her to back down and to play against a team that fields a male on the women's team, and Sia wouldn't do it because she has integrity. So, yeah, and of course, Riley appears in the ad as well.
Yeah.
So, those three sports are so different. I think it's so cool to see how hard they all train and what they do and the athleticism, the strength, and just determination. I don't think people realize how hard it is. These are the tough moments we wanted to show, not the wins.
So, Jen, what happened at the beginning when I played the ad, people heard this yesterday too, you have, essentially the players in the ad that you just mentioned are listening to the radio, and you have the same argument that I've heard on this show and elsewhere that, this is a small amount. This is barely something that's on the radar with biological men trying to take any spots from female. It's much ado about nothing by people like you, people like me, and the entire, right. So that's kind of how you started,
right.
being very aware of that's the complaint that is often lodged against this, right?
Yeah, it's so few. What's the difference? But then they quickly move on to, but let's celebrate this man winning against women. So which is it? Are we celebrating, or there's not enough to worry about? The UN found just a few months ago that there have been over 900 instances in just the last few years of males taking opportunities, trophies, team berths from women. 900 is not just a few. And that's all happened, and it's accelerating every day. That's all happened in just the last few years. And I would argue one man taking a spot from a woman is too many. And then you have the issue of safety. I mean, we saw in the Olympics this summer a male boxer, a biological male boxer, not trans, we can talk about that if you want, who won a gold medal. How is that safe? A contact sport. Men are stronger, they're faster, they punch harder, and yet we were supposed to celebrate this man stealing a gold medal from a woman in the boxing ring. I won't do it. One is too many. Women deserve safety, privacy, and fairness. Their argument has no, it's not an argument. It's a stupid argument. The reason Title IX exists is so that women can have their own sports and their own opportunities. And if we allow for one, then we allow for all of them, and men will quickly take over all of women's sports. I mean, honestly, my challenge is, why do we have women's sports then? Just make it one category.
I know. That's the question I have, too. Look, I've told you this before. I have a little 10-year-old daughter, and she's an athlete, and, so I care about this issue. Jennifer Say is here. She's the CEO and founder of XY Athletics. Now, let me ask this question relating to the Super Bowl ad. Obviously, you saw that you got a nice little retweet from J.K. Rowling yesterday.
Yeah, I woke up to that yesterday morning. She's obviously on, UK time. And we had launched it the day before on Sunday, and we got some good views, but kind of not to the level I thought we would. And I went to bed, and I was actually a little bummed. I mean, it was pretty good, but not like what I was hoping for. We made a bigger investment in this ad than we normally make, and I just think it's so powerful. And I woke up, not that many hours later, because I don't sleep very well these days, to about 30 texts from friends with the J.K. Rowling tweet. And I think her tweet alone is over 6 million views at this point. She has 14 million X followers and has been a real leader in this movement.
She has.
And she's not a conservative, to your point earlier. This is a fight for truth and reality. This shouldn't be partisan. It's the left that's made it partisan. This is about biological reality and privacy and safety for girls. So, the J.K. Rowling tweet was it quickly turned my mood in being concerned that this thing wasn't going to take off to being able to kind of not control how it's taken off. And she tweeted again today. I don't know if you saw it.
No, I didn't see today.
Her husband. Oh, today she had two today. One was that her husband, Neil, apparently that's his name, had already bought 4 shirts. So that was kind of cool. We went in and we saw that indeed he had bought 4 shirts already. And she had another one that was a response to people trolling her for her support of this ad. So she continues to show her support, and we are so grateful. And to get that kind of support from somebody who's a writer and a creative who admires the creativity and the impact and the emotional resonance of the ad is quite meaningful for those of us who went into this to try to make something that really moves people to action. I think far too often on the right, conservatives in the last however many years, we've sort of ceded those tools of culture, film and music and brands and all these things that move the hearts and minds of people. Facts do actually care about your feelings, and we need to respect the culture by capturing the hearts and minds of people so they stand up for themselves. We need to normalize standing up for women and girls. This is what common sense Americans believe. And yet, if you're out there like me and Riley, it certainly doesn't feel like the vast majority of Americans are willing to stand with us.
Yeah, well, and you've talked about this in terms of not having that real top-tier competitive female athlete taking a stand, and Riley's been so heroic. You have Martina Navratilova, who's made some, comments certainly on your side and on our side here, but not that one big athlete that has been, well, let's face it, courageous enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, Martina's amazing, and she's been fierce and fearless on the issue. She never backs down, and she is a Democrat and continues to, tout other Democratic policies. This hasn't caused her to break from the party, but she hasn't competed in decades, So where are the Olympic level athletes? Where are the high level professional athletes and coaches? They're nowhere to be found. It's Martina and me. Back in the day, I was high level, but I'm past my prime. And Riley, who is young but doesn't compete anymore. And, Riley started this boycott program, which is encouraging young women to stand up or stand down from competing against males. And we just announced a partnership with her on this, and we have a series of merchandise and products. Because we Riley and I both believe that when currently competing athletes stand up and say no more, that's when this ends. And to date, we don't have a high-level female athlete or coach doing that. I will tell you, I have a long-standing background as a gymnast. I was a 7-time national team member and national champion. I was the first gymnast to speak out about abuse in gymnastics back in 2008 with my first book, and no one stood with me. And it wasn't until the Larry Nassar case broke and members of the Olympic team and currently competing members of USA Gymnastics came out by the hundreds to say they were abused by this man or not by him, by their coaches. That it wasn't until then that people became aware and the culture started to change. Unfortunately, I will tell you the culture has not fully changed yet. So that's just a testament to the fact that we have a ways to go. Culture change is very hard.
Yeah, and but the good thing here is because I know you've been talking about this for a long time, but I feel like I've been talking about this issue certainly longer than 4 years. But in the last 3.5 years, the amount of progress that's happened just in the last, let's face it, 6 months, certainly a year has really been amazing. So I think that this was one of the underlying, undercurrents in the election, that people are kind of sick and tired of this stuff.
I completely agree with you. I mean, the amount of progress we've made, let's face it, in the last week with the executive orders has been outstanding. The thing I just remind people of is the executive orders that Trump has signed only impact federally funded institutions, public schools, teams that compete for public schools. 70% of athletes compete outside of that system. That doesn't even include professional sports. So, like, I competed in the U.S. Olympic movement. I competed under the auspices of the U.S. Olympic Committee and USA Gymnastics. That's not affected. The U.S. Olympic Committee has not moved an inch. And
that's sad.
That's not just athletes.
That's unfortunate.
And that's not just athletes competing at the Olympic level. Like, I started competing when I was 6. That's in the Olympic movement. That you compete for a private club. And so, and we saw maybe a month ago, a man has just been qualified for the Boston Marathon to compete in the women's category. That's not impacted. That's a private board and a privately run race. And so it's a very fractured landscape of sporting, events and governing bodies, and we need to move all of it. And I just tell people it's the culture that has to change. We need to refuse to make this okay, so that these governing bodies have to change their rules. So thank goodness Trump has signed all these executive orders. He's gotten it started, and I think now we need to take the baton and run with it.
Wow.
The people, because the U.S. Olympic Committee needs to get on board.
Absolutely. And Jen, you know what? You broke news. I must have missed this over the holidays about the trans-identified, biological male that's going to run in the female division. That's news to me, so that makes this even more outrageous. All right, well, I'm not J.K. Rowling's husband, but I did make an order as well, and I have one complaint here. I got the simple logo tee, the XY Heather Gray. I like the logo trucker cap on navy, but see, then I tried to throw in one more thing here, and it was the blue. I don't know, man. You didn't have any sizes except for small in the blue, real dark blue XXXY Athletics T-shirt. So I'm going to have that one later, I suppose, because I couldn't get that one.
I'm not. Oh, I'm sorry. The sales have been pretty good lately. But if you go on the site on that product page, there'll be a little button you can click to say notify me when it's back in stock. So I would encourage you to do that. See if there's something else you like. The other thing I would say is our performance product for workouts and such is outstanding. It really is world class. So if you're a guy that likes to work out, try the Onyx tee. It's a workout tee. How about if how about this? Because I don't like to work out, but I like to wear stuff that makes me look like I work out, right? So I think that qualifies. Not alone in that. Yeah, I think you're not alone. I actually think you get points for that. That's like, healthy lifestyle. Looks like you work out. I think you get some workout points for that.
Hey, Jen, thank you so much, and good luck with the ad, and we're going to get it out there as much as we can this week. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. Have a great day, and thanks for having me.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. And things are better for Illinois drivers. We just have some volume westbound on the Poplar Street Bridge as people come in tonight. And 44 westbound is slowing. That's jammed in front of the arch grounds. Southbound 55, that's a slow go, and it's mainly down at Revis Barracks. Westbound 40, a slow go. Kings Highway out through McCausland. Southbound 170 slowing at 64, which is slowing from 170 through Big Bend. That's some really good news. Lakeside Renovation and Design has been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out for 25 years. From windows and siding to kitchens, bathrooms, and outdoor spaces, they deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Oh, some new polling numbers for the mayor of St. Louis that are just brutal. Thankfully, we can celebrate that. We're going to break them down, though, with Jeff Rainford, the former chief of staff for Mayor Slay, coming up. I have an audio cut of the day. Oh, and Danny Penny's got a gig that's very interesting. He just got a new job in the aftermath of his trial in New York City, and it's a pretty cool gig, so I'll explain that here in a couple of minutes as well. I have a couple of friends I was out with over the weekend. We went to the golf show in St. Charles, Chuck and Michaela, and they brought up a flooring project, and Chuck listens every once in a while, and he mentioned that he had heard me talking about Michael's Flooring Outlet, and I could not rave more, and I was very enthusiastic to, hook up my friends with Mike Reynolds, who's become a friend because he's so passionate about what he does. He's got a great set of stores here in St. Louis that are open every day except for Sunday. They're in Old Town St. Peter's, beautiful location there, Darden Prairie, and also in West County on Olive. And the website is igotfloor.com. If you're looking for hard flooring, soft flooring, we did some rooms in my house last fall with Mike and the team, and we did it on a budget, and the flooring looks spectacular. Look at Mohawk products. They're some of the best out there, whether it's hardwood or luxury vinyl or even silky soft flooring like carpeting. Some people still do carpeting. I think we've gotten away from that, but they can guide you into that as well. igotfloor.com, Michael's Flooring Outlet, 3 great locations.
99 years. That's how long Overhead Door Company of St. Louis has been repairing and replacing garage doors for savvy homeowners. Since 1926, they are the only authorized dealer of overhead door brand products in the city. Always look for the iconic red ribbon to be sure you're dealing with the genuine, the original Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. For same-day garage door repair 24/7, call Overhead Door Company of St. Louis or schedule online overheaddoorsstlouis.com. That's overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
Wouldn't you like to take a vacation from your bills? Well, you can. With credit card balances at an all-time high and Golden Oak's 5.25% rate, you could be saving thousands of dollars after a simple phone call. Call today and get your cash in as little as 14 days and make no payments for 2 months. Call 314-567-GOLD.
Golden Oak Landing cured my blues.
6.19 APR, FHA, 15-year, 20% equity qualified credit. Additional terms apply. NMLS 114937.
Attention St. Louis Medicaid residents in need of care at home. If you need assistance with daily activities, you can receive in-home care from a loved one that lives with you and they get paid. Through Medicaid with no cost to you, Freedom Care allows you to choose who provides your care at home in St. Louis and they get paid instantly. This is 100% free to you. Call now to check your eligibility. It can be your daughter, son, a close relative, or trusted friend helping you with cooking, transportation, laundry, and other activities in your own home. You get the help you need and your caregiver gets paid instantly. Freedom Care has over 7,000 five-star Google reviews and is a leading choice in St. Louis for in-home care. If you have Medicaid and want great care from a loved one that's free to you through Medicaid, go to freedomcare.com or call 314-597-1749, 314-597-1749, 314-597-1749.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
Yeah, 5:33. This portion of the show is sponsored by our friends at Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
97.1 is excited to welcome Brian Kilmeade back to St. Louis.
Hi, everyone. Brian Kilmeade here. I have great news. I'm going to be joining all of you in St. Louis.
Be a part of this event.
March 22nd, St. Louis. You're going to love it.
Get tickets at briankilmeade.com. You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Resilient little thing, just like mama made you, no one needs to say.
Brian Kilmeade might be with us tomorrow for his weekly appearance. It's usually a Wednesday or Thursday. I know Fred has been in contact. And yeah, that St. Louis show, which is going to be great. It's going to be on a Saturday night, March 22nd. At the Factory in Chesterfield. And I think Brian said last week that's the biggest venue that he's playing. And tickets are going very well right now. There are some available. Most of us from 97.1 FM Talk will be there with him on stage that night as well. So it's going to be fun. He's come back 2 years in a row in December to do events with us. And he is the most generous person in media that I've ever met. And we didn't have him this December. So it's great news that Kilmeade's coming back and this is more of like a variety show. So it's a little different.
Sounds like
it. Yeah, even if you've seen him, at one of our events, this is going to be a little different because that was mainly a bit of a, shorter presentation, a little Q&A.
A little bit of dinner.
And then signing books. So this is a little different format. I was sent some polling information by my good friend Jeff Rainford over the weekend that did not reflect very well on the mayor of St. Louis. I was so sad about that, Sue. I saw Tish's numbers. I said, that cannot be. How can this happen? Because we want more destruction of this city. No, the truth is we want something to move in the other direction, and we're kind of hoping to root for it again. Jeff Rainford back with us from Rainford and Associates. He was the chief of staff for a mayor that actually did his job, Mayor Slay, back in the day. How are you, Rainford? I'm guessing you're in Florida where it's nice and comfortable.
Yeah, it was a little toasty today, but it's all good. It's all good here, but man, what a mess there.
Well, so this was interesting. So I'm not the political expert that you are, but when you sent me that, and I was looking at the polling from Michael Butler, most people don't know who he is. Kara Spencer is the member of the Board of Aldermen challenging Tishara. But they asked questions about positive, negatives, and all that. And the negative numbers on Tishara were at 62%. Your comment was you'd never seen something that high outside of a scandal, right?
Right. Even Clarence Harmon, who ultimately in the race in 2001 against Francis Slay and Freeman Bosley, he ended up with 4% of the vote, but his favorability never got to anywhere that bad. I've never seen an unfavorable number like that for a local elected official, not under federal indictment or federal investigation. And what's even more astonishing is 3 years ago I said the mayor got $500 million in federal money known as ARPA. Your audience doesn't know what ARPA stands for. It's basically federal money you can use for almost anything. Got $260 million in Rams money she could use for almost anything. I was like, if you get $750 million windfalls as mayor of the city of St. Louis and you can't get reelected, that is rising to a level that, we've never seen before. It's almost like you're guaranteed to get reelected if you have $750 million in cash to spend. And yet her numbers are an all-time low.
Well, let's go over some of those. So in this particular poll from the Missouri Scout, they asked about Mike Butler. Again, he's relatively not known with the electorate. His favorables were just 13%, unfavorable 11%. Again, no opinion, 75%. What's your opinion of Kara Spencer? Favorable, 50%. All right, that's a good number. Unfavorable, 18%. No opinion, 32%. What's your opinion of Tashara Jones? Favorable, 21%. Unfavorable, 62%. How anyone in this city could not have an opinion, that's 16%. I'm not sure. So my response to you was, not being the political expert, I texted Rainford. I said, that appears to give Kara a legit shot. Tish's negatives off the charts. And your response was, she might not even get out of the first round?
Right. So remember, we've got this new voting system, and I'll try to simplify it as much as I can. In the city of St. Louis, in municipal elections, the first round, which is in March, the second round is in April. In the first round, you can vote for as many candidates as you want, and that the top two vote getters move on. So if people are really angry at the mayor, it's quite possible a lot of them will vote for everybody but her. And so, even though Michael Butler doesn't, people don't really know who he is, and those who do don't really have a, super high favorability of him, there's so much frustration over both the general direction of the city, what happened with the snow, what happened with trash, what's happened with the jail. I can go down the list. There's so much frustration that you could almost see a protest vote where people, because it absolutely says on your ballot, vote for as many of the below as you would like. And so you could see people voting for Kara and Butler and maybe Jones too.
So one of the questions I asked on the roundtable last week, Jeff, kind of curious about your opinion. I'm not a city resident. Sue lives in the city. Jane lives in the city now. But is there an awareness of the electorate, the people who live in the city, that a mayor's race is going to happen here in a few weeks? Because I don't sense that at all. Now, I don't watch TV news, okay, but I don't see any coverage of this in our local paper. And we talk about it a little bit, but our audience really isn't here in the city. So what kind of awareness level is there?
It's a low awareness level, and the turnout is going to be low. I mean, I think 4 years ago it was under 30%, so you're going to have a really low turnout. None of the candidates have been able to raise a lot of money, to do a lot of TV and stuff, which is, you go to a presidential election, which is just the opposite, and they're spending billions of dollars. Nobody doesn't know there's not an election because of all of the money involved and everything. And so, there'll be a low turnout. And actually, you said before, the poll is good news. To me, the poll is neither good news nor bad news because polls are not election day. And right. You can get complacency. Like a friend of mine who intends to vote for Kara Spencer I said, he's going to be out of town. I said, get an absentee ballot. And he's like, well, the mayor can't win, can she? Well, that's the kind of complacency that can make these things either, closer or have upset wins in a low turnout election.
That's a great point. That is really a good point. Yeah, and that's sort of where the origin of my question comes from, because you want people to participate. We know that there's a lot of anger out there over some of these issues, and then you have the travel scandal that lays in the background. I mean, here's another question for you. Does Tashara Jones, is she campaigning actively? Is she doing things? Is she self-aware that she's in trouble here?
Well, I don't know if she can't not know, because she's going to get the reaction on the campaign trail. I'm guessing she's getting a lot of the cold shoulder. The challenge for her is that if you are an incumbent and you're very unpopular, generally what you do is spend a fortune bringing down your opponent, right? You go hard negative on your opponent, so people like your opponent even less than they like you. It's happened before. I think Steve Stenger won a race kind of that way before he went away to prison. And so, the problem for Tashara is, though, she's not raised much money. Now, either has Kara, but Tashara's not raised a lot of money, so it doesn't really give her a lot of options other than she and her father, Vervis Jones, going on Twitter and saying nasty things about people on Twitter, which, I don't know what that gets you.
I guess I'm just naive. I feel like we are in a pretty significant Midwestern city. I know that the population of the city of St. Louis has dwindled, but the region is still important. And we're about to enter, several weeks before a mayoral election, and there's seemingly no interest.
I will say that I have seen signs popping up in yards for both.
Okay.
And that's fairly recent, Jeff. I mean, just in the last week or so.
Well, there's no doubt the candidates themselves are working hard. I know all of them, including the mayor and including Alderwoman Spencer, are out every night. But the kinds of things, if you look at, there's a cause and effect between the amount of TV commercials and digital ads and direct mail you do and voter interest, because if you have let's take a mayor's race. If you had $1.5 million to get people's attention, guess what? You're going to get their attention. If you have $250,000 to get their attention, it's a lot harder. So it's a lot harder to get people's attention when you're going to ward meetings and neighborhood meetings. They're all doing that. And they're all going door to door. And they're all got their supporters going door to door on Saturday. But you're not going to have the kind of advertising that you've had in mayoral races in the past. And that kind of tamps down how much people are engaged. Now we'll have to see. There could be so much anger that you get a surge of voting. It's happened before.
Well, and I think Jane
That's
feels,
what I'm
even
hoping.
Steve Butts, he was on the panel last week, feel like a lot of the anger from the storm may result in, anger on Election Day in particular. Jeff Rainford is here with Rainford & Associates. He's a political consultant, used to be chief of staff for Mayor Slay. I've referred to you, Rainford, as a sane Democrat. You know that. I think you're a sane Democrat. So as a sane Democrat, I want you to respond to this at the DNC over the weekend, because you just can't really make this stuff up.
Our rules specify that when we have a gender non-binary candidate or officer, the non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female, and the remaining 6 offices must be gender balanced. At this point are currently 2 male and 2 female. In order to be gender balanced, we must add 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender.
Are you all caught up on the math there? Because that was a math problem, apparently. That's what they did at the DNC, Rainford. We're going to keep that audio for the next few years. You realize that, right?
All I can say is we have to understand that the 2 biggest issues, not the only issues, but the 2 biggest issues in this last election were inflation and the border. And if we're talking about anything as Carville said one time, it's the economy, stupid. And if we don't start talking to middle-class voters about the things that middle-class voters are interested in, we will continue to lose elections. And if we not only don't talk to them about what they're interested in, we try to force down their throats things that seem strange to them, we will not only lose elections, we'll lose elections that we should win. And so it's nuts. I mean, hopefully at some point, somebody's going to get up, and some centrist from not from the West Coast or the East Coast is going to get up and say, we have to start connecting with middle class voters of all races, black, white, Hispanic, whatever. And, that's where we're getting murdered. And, we should not have lost this election. I've said this before. Donald Trump did not win this election. The Democrats blew it. And I said for the last 3 years, I kind of said if they blow it, if Donald Trump wins, it's because Democrats blew it, and that's what I believe happened.
Well, I do think that they blew it, but I think that you were up against forces that were very, rare when it comes to inflation, the assassination attempt, all the momentum, the lack of, interplay in the White House, and people were on to the, fact that Joe Biden was barely breathing. So there were a lot of factors. I understand your point. If there was a candidate that was maybe a little bit, you heard what Carville said about Kamala.
No, it's the whole party. It's the whole party.
I know, but he said she was like a 7th-string quarterback.
Right.
Not too far from the truth, though, right?
Right. It's like the Buffalo Bills-Kansas City game. Everybody can say, well, that one 4th down call by the referee cost them the game. Well, Buffalo put themselves in a position where they had to depend on the refs. I mean, we had 3 or 4 years where the country put us in charge, and we had 3 or 4 years to convince them that we are the party of the middle class, and we're the party that a majority of Americans can trust, and we did just the opposite. So I still blame us.
And I'm glad you failed, personally. Thank you, though, for jumping on here with me, and I hope you get sunburned down there in Florida playing golf. How about that?
That served me right.
All right, take care. Thank you. Audio cut of the day is coming up.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
On the roads tonight, well, we'll take a look at it here for you, but looks like westbound 6440 has just got the usual volume, and that's near Kings Highway, and it goes on out through McCausland. Now, we have a Blues game tonight, so there is some volume westbound on the Poplar Street Bridge. But here's the good news. Eastbound has thinned out. No delays through there at all. And if you're heading on eastbound 6440 to the game, watch for some volume 170 through Big Bend, and then it opens up. Southbound 270, we had an accident reported near Olive. Slow pockets between there and Doherty Ferry. Southbound 55, slowing south of Arsenal through Revis Barracks, but again, that is in pockets, so it's not a solid jam. This report brought to you by GL International Realty. Planning to sell your home? Work with the very best. Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty will guarantee to sell your home at your price or she will buy it. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Now Taxes is using Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get your refund so you can do more with it right in Credit Karma. Now this is taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. See guaranteed details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
Thinking of buying a new home? Think T.R. Hughes. T.R. Hughes Homes has great prices on beautiful new homes at 4 desirable locations. Charlestown Landing in North St. Charles, convenient to Highway 370. The Grove at Riverdale and St. Paul with standard 4-car garages, just 10 minutes from the St. Peter's Dearborns. Arbor Valley and Wentzville on Highway N with minimum half-acre wooded lots. And our newest community, Elkhorn Ridge in Truesdale, just west of Wright City, minutes from Highway 70. Come and see why T.R. Hughes is St. Charles and now Warren County's premier home builder. TRHughes.com.
When you've been hurt in an accident, you need a law firm that wins. Onder wins. For over 100 years, Onder Law has been winning for St. Louis. With over $5 billion in negotiated settlements and over $300 million in verdicts, Onder wins. Voted best law firm by STL Today 2 years in a row, Onder wins. Whether it's settlements, verdicts, or awards, Onder wins. If you've been hurt in a car accident, trucking accident, or hurt on the job, Onder Law will get you the money you deserve. At Onder Law, winning is what we do. So when the stakes are high, Onder wins. Call us today for a free consultation. We don't get paid unless we win for you. Dial 314 or 6189-million. That's 314 or 6189, then all zeros. Or visit us online at onderwins.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Mark Cox here for my friends at Home Shield Foundation. This is a local family-owned company. They do waterproofing. They do crack repair. They can replace your sump pump and do complete waterproofing and drain tile and sump pit installation in your basement. And the owner, Matt Hayes, promises you this. He's going to come in. He's going to inspect your basement to determine the property repair that's needed. Check him out today. Tell him Mark Cox sent you. It's HomeshieldFoundationRepairs.com.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Wednesday, how will the Chinese tariffs affect you? We'll talk to Taylor Riggs from Fox Business at 8:35.
The Mark Cox Morning Show, weekdays from 5 to 9, right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, I'm putting together the bumper list for today that I post on the X, formerly Twitter, and you can always follow that at Mark Reardon KFTK, and I put the song list up every single day in case people are curious, and every once in a while they are curious. I have an audio cut of the day coming up here in just a moment. I also have... I guess Fred said, I think we're trying to get Kilmeade for tomorrow. We're not sure. We already have the roundtable set for Friday, which is good. Jane Duker, Jeff Smith, Greg Keller. You know, I mentioned in the start of the show, I think, or maybe I said it during Sue's News, that I had someone reach out to me who was a listener and a fan of the show who described himself as a young African-American millennial, and he heard me kind of going off as an old white dude on Kendrick Lamar and, you know, his lyrics and everything that kind of played into him winning a couple of Grammys, like Record of the Year and Song of the Year, but also he's the Super Bowl halftime show, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious. If I went around to the building right now, I guess the younger people might answer the question. Could you name one Kendrick Lamar song? I mean, I don't know if most people can do that.
I don't know.
We'll find out, right? So, again, this is where I feel very disconnected. But the listener who reached out, I've been in communication with him, and I said, let's have a chat. And we're not going to do this on the air because genuinely, some people might find this unusual, there are parts of me that want to understand, especially music like that and why people like it. Look, we don't all like the same thing. Like, Sue, I don't know if you've ever dabbled in the world of EDM music.
No, that is not my
No, it's
thing.
not. It's like, I don't get it. I went to this music festival in Las Vegas that doesn't even exist anymore called Life is Beautiful a few years ago. And there were bands there that I wanted to see. Green Day was there, Haim, a lot of acts that I wanted to see. But then they kind of had this EDM portion. And I'm standing in front of a stage in the VIP section, and I'm watching all these people. They're literally 10, maybe 15,000 people. And there's a disc jockey, like, I was a disc jockey back in the day. I didn't have 20,000 people in front of me. And they're basically, I don't know what they're doing. They're kind of spinning the records. I don't even know if they really play the music from there. And there's people that, now, mind you, they're all hopped up on MDMA, but they're cheering and, their fists are in the air. I'm like, wait a second. That's not even like, there's no musician. There's nobody performing the music on stage. I get that that's an art form, creating beats, doing all this stuff. But it's not really music, is it? I don't know.
I think Shaq used to do that. Random thoughts.
Did he?
Yeah, I believe so. When he had that TV show, I would watch it every now and then. Yeah,
I don't know. But we'll continue our conversations about Kendrick Lamar. Look, in the end, maybe he'll do a mind-blowing Super Bowl halftime show. I mean, most of the people who are put up in that position are pretty, experienced entertainers. This is a guy that fills arenas, so he's not without a fandom, and he knows how to put on a show. It's just, it confuses me. Again, old and white, that kind of sums it up.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
Well, every once in a while, we have topics. We can't squeeze all of them in, and maybe I go to them during audio cut of the day because I feel they're important. There was a hearing today in front of the Judiciary Committee about fentanyl and doing something to stop this nonsense in this country, whether it's from China or through Mexico. And you would hope, I heard Dick Durbin say something. He, of course, is from Illinois, crazy senator, Democrat. But he said, and this is not something that sat well with me. He said, a few years ago, and he blamed both Republicans and Democrats, we agreed to do something in principle with a unanimous vote in this committee. And he said, nothing's happened. So nothing has actually happened. So they can vote on things and then they don't take action. You would hope that members of Congress on both sides could see the effort to stop fentanyl from killing children across the country is a positive thing. But these parents went up there today with heartbreaking stories.
Today marks another month that my son, Devin Joseph Noring, was taken from my family at the age of 19, well before he ever got the chance to really begin life. We later learned that Devin was poisoned by fentanyl. His bedroom should have been the safest place in the world. And as I held him one last time, I promised my son I would do something.
Denise got into his hospital bed and laid next to him, gently stroking his beautiful head of dark brown hair, and I was holding his right hand when he drew his last breath at exactly 5:08 p.m.
We need you to stand with us and enact these pieces of legislation so that our country's kids have a fighting chance and stop losing their lives.
It's awful, and I don't know if legislation can really make that big of a difference, but they have to try something. Now, you might remember this from yesterday. Phil Murphy, the governor of Connecticut. I used this for Cut of the Day.
Tammy and I were talking about, I don't want to get into too much detail, but there's someone in our broader universe whose immigration status is not yet at the point that they are trying to get it to. And we said, you know what, let's have her live at our house above our garage. And good luck to the feds coming in to try to get her.
Yeah, so he's the Democrat governor of New Jersey, and he's harboring an illegal, and he's bragging about it. Tom Homan had something to say about that.
I think the governor's pretty foolish saying what he said, because I got note of it, won't let it go, we'll look into it. And if he's knowingly harboring, concealing an illegal alien, that's a violation of Title 8 United States Code 1324. I would seek prosecution, or the secretary would seek prosecution. So maybe he's bluffing. If he's not, we'll deal with that.
Yeah, Tom Homan,
I don't think he is.
He ain't messing around, Tom Homan, right? Well, the governor's office issued a statement saying, well, he was just misunderstood. I don't think so. This is going to be fun.
If you missed anything, podcast The Mark Reardon Show at 971talk.com. Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
This report brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. There is a stall southbound 270 at Manchester. It's off on the right side with its lights flashing. And we also had a stall northbound 270 past 44, also on the right side. Now, as far as volume goes, we do have a Blues game tonight at 7. So there's some volume eastbound 6440 as you approach 170. And volume westbound headed for and crossing the Poplar Street Bridge. Other than that, we look pretty good. 70 westbound in good shape, 44 just a little slow at 270. Yep, and in general, it's not bad. 99 years. That's how long Overhead Door Company of St. Louis has been repairing and replacing garage doors for savvy homeowners. For same-day garage door repair 24/7, call Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Or you can schedule online at overheaddoorstlewis.com. That's overheaddoorstlewis.com. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.